Good morning. The April 11, 2019 joint meeting of the Boards of Directors of San Joaquin Hills Transportation Corridor Agency and Foothill Eastern TCA is hereby called to order. I would like to request from Director Trish Kelly to lead us in the invocation, please.
Thank you. Please join me. Our Father, we do thank you and praise you for the beautiful communities and cities that we live in and the many blessings that you bestow on us here. We do recognize the responsibilities and the duties that we carry in serving on this board. We ask that your hand would be upon each one of us as we make important decisions for those that we serve. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, and I would like to request from Director Ferguson to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Okay, please put your hand over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Chair Miniger,
Present.
Director Bain,
Present.
Vice Chair Connors, Director Heft, here. Director Munsing,
Here.
Director O'Neill,
Here.
Director Vixerick,
Here.
Alternate Stevens,
Here.
Director Beal,
Here.
Director Chafee,
Here.
Director Ferguson,
Here.
Director Huang,
Here.
Director Kring,
Here.
Director Miller,
Here.
Vice Chair Puckett,
Here.
Alternate Alvarez,
Here.
Director Bartlett, here. Director Kelly,
Here.
Director Marriott,
Here.
Director Penalosa,
Here.
Chair Shea,
Yes.
Director Voigt.
Here.
We have quorum. Oh, and Director Wagner.
I'm here.
Okay. At this juncture, I'd like to welcome Supervisor-elect Supervisor Don Wagner from the great city of Irvine. I would like to conduct the oath of office for you, and maybe I can ask Chair Shea to do the oath of office, please.
Oh, I'd be honored.
Do you want to come right back here?
Sure.
Okay, great. Please raise your, is this on? Is this on? It's on. It's like, okay, so good. Hello? Okay, so please raise your right hand. Do you, state your name,
Don Wagner,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that you will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that you will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United
to the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and that you take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion, that you will well and faithfully discharge
I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon
the duties upon
which you are now about to
which
enter.
I am about to enter.
All right, congratulations. Slide your own.
And also, I wanted to congratulate my colleague, the chairwoman for Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency, for being the new mayor of the great city of Irvine.
Thank you very much. And that's all due to our wonderful new supervisor, Don Wagner.
Very good.
I love it when a plan comes together.
I hope so. Todd Spitzer.
At this time, members of the public may address the boards regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the boards, but no action may be taken on off-agenda items unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to 2 minutes per person and 1 hour for comments, unless different time limits are set by the chair, subject to the approval of the boards. If needed, additional public comments will be held before the closed session portion of the agenda during the public comments continued part 2 and shall be limited to 2 minutes per person for comments unless different time limits are set by the chair, subject to the approval of the boards. Now, we are moving to San Joaquin Hills consent calendar items 1 through 5. Do I have a vote to approve?
So moved.
It was moved by Director Chair Shea and seconded by Supervisor Director
Chair Miniger,
Lisa Bartlett.
public comment.
I beg your pardon. I'm
I
moving
thought
too
that would
fast.
rather fit that.
All right, I wanted to make sure that these are strictly public comments, are not specifically related to any items on the agenda. The first speaker is Cord Bauer. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. First, thank you, Bill Breaux, for authoring AB 1273. To me, the bill simply refocuses this TCA to its core mission, which is not managed lanes, not as a fast pass service provider, or any other expansion of power. It's amazing to think that this JPA, with 80 employees and the directors in this room, are stewards for billions of dollars of Orange County debt, more debt than many Western states. I use the term stewards for the debt because Orange County taxpayers are actually the responsible party. My 8, 11, and 13-year-old will then be responsible for the debt. The beautiful baby who my friend welcomed into the world last week, she will one day be responsible for the debt. If there's one group that politicians secretly target, it's children. I think they're targeted because children don't have the power of a vote, and too many adults are willing to push their own responsibility onto future generations. Last, the picture you see is of a hiking trail behind my house. It and the people near it would be affected by one or more of the toll road routes. This is land that's already been mitigated, and much of it is unbuildable ancient slide area, but that doesn't seem to matter. Now ask yourself, if less than 3% of Orange County commutes from OC to San Diego, and if a toll road through San Clemente would actually increase congestion, why does the TCA continue to try and force a road where it's not needed or wanted? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Mrs. Vaughn Barnes.
Good morning. I'm Bonnie Barnes, Board President of Rancho San Clemente Master Association, representing 14 HOAs and 5,000 residents. Slide 1. This is the TCA's map of Route 14 and the I-5 in San Clemente. Route 14 runs through a landslide area along Pico. The landslide started in October of 2017. This is the intact slope before the base of it was removed to widen Pico and construct a long retaining wall. A closer up view of the landslide area shows an intact parking lot, rows of trees, healthy vegetation, and no appearance of a landslide. On October 27th, 2017, the SC Times published this photo of the parking lot. The rows of trees still stand, but parking spaces are damaged. By January 18, the trees are history. Parking spaces have disappeared, and a large section of the parking lot has fallen off the cliff. By April 1st, 2019, a larger section of the parking lot is gone, and new fissures have developed. The I-5 is in the distance, and San Clemente High School is on the left. And this is the landslide viewed from the I-5 inland that includes bluff-top homes above Frontera. Route 14 would have a bridge from this landslide area going over Frontera to around the homes. The toll road would then cut into the slope on Frontera, curve around on Pico going east, and threaten the stability of the Ridgeline homes. My husband will take over with the next portion of the slides. Tom Barnes.
Thank you. Mr. Tom Barnes. Where are you?
Hello, I'm Tom Barnes, 35-year resident of San Clemente. This map is from the Irvine Soils Geology Report of 1982. The purpose was to avoid unstable land areas in developing Rancho San Clemente. As this report was conducted decades before Route 14 was proposed, it is not biased either for or against this toll road. We requested the board move to direct TCA staff to add the Irvine Soil Study to the Environmental Impact Report. Smart Mobility, slide 9. Smart Mobility's 2005 engineering report supports Irvine Soil's findings. Landslides may be triggered in Monterey land formation when land is removed from the base of slopes. Slide 10. The geologists and engineers were correct. This is exactly what happened when the base of the slope was removed to widen Pico and construct the large retaining wall. Seismic vibrations from pile drivers to widen the I-5 bridge over Pico may have also contributed to the landslide. Slide 11. From right to left on this slide, the 4-lane Route 14 would first cut into unstable slopes near the ridgeline homes along Pico and Frontera, include a bridge over Frontera, plow through the landslide, run through the new retaining wall, include another bridge over Pico, go through the new Starbucks, run 10 feet away from San Clemente High School property, and connect to the center of the I-5. Slide 12. Route 14 is a geotechnical hazard of the worst kind. The excessive number of retaining walls, caissons, bridges, and slope restoration needed to mitigate slope failure is unconscionable. The smart solution is to eliminate Route 14. Until Route 14 is eliminated, we can't get anywhere on this toll road situation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next. Mr. Dave Sorotky.
Good morning, Board. Thank
Good
you
morning.
for your service. My name's Dave Sorosky, and my horse's name is Ted. At a recently held public meeting regarding the Saddle Club in Chubico Canyon, I was inspired by the preservation and the TCA's vision for this historic landmark, and would like to offer my extensive map collection as well as aerial photography capability to help in its successful completion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Ms. Laura with no last name.
Good morning. My name is Laura Conoval. I am a parent, a real estate broker, and a 15-year resident of San Clemente. You as the board started off today's meeting with a prayer. In that prayer, you mentioned duties and responsibilities. I implore you to actually listen to us today because I feel like we've all been here time and time again, begging you to hear us, begging you to stop the potential downfall of our beautiful city where we have prided our town, and the reason why we moved there was because of the beautiful hillsides and the flowers and the lack of development, which you are threatening to push right through our town, which is obnoxious. And we, again, beg you to stop. Actually hear us, maybe for once. I don't know if this can happen. I don't know if you really care. Do you actually listen when we talk up here? It doesn't really seem like it. I mean, it just seems like all these people wasted their entire morning, their beautiful Thursday morning in Southern California to come here again and again. And we're gonna keep coming here, just so you know, okay? Wanted to talk a little bit about fiscal responsibility and accountability that we as citizens really don't think that you as a board have had or paid attention to. Public funds should not be wasted, whether by cities or other agencies or by individual politicians. The cost of every home and business in South Orange County has been used to line the pockets of TCA consultants for years. This must stop. We have proof of overbillings occurring all the way back to December of 2015. This fiscal corruption has been going on for too many years without anyone noticing until now. How can we trust the TCA staff to keep reviewing these bills when they've failed for so many years already? Thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of time, next speaker, Mr. Richard Longobardo, and the next one would be Mr. Pablo Gonzalez, please.
Thank you. Well, we're here again, and unfortunately, the same situation still exists. Your desire to push through the Route 14 through our beautiful community, it would be criminal. It really would. The culture of our community would be scarred with this monstrosity in our backyard. And for what? We don't want it. We don't need it. I drove that toll road to 241 for almost 20 years. I worked in Ontario. It was a hellish drive. It was worth it to come back to San Clemente. But I can tell you that toll road is never utilized, never, in any time of the day, and I drove it many times. How you can justify it, your studies don't justify it. The latest study shows 15,000 cars a day. Are you kidding me? For $2 billion? Try and figure that out on a route cost per day. It makes no sense. Toll road is already in deep economic water. You've had to refinance and extend your debt to make it work. Otherwise, you'd be bankrupt already, and you want to push through another $2 billion extension through our community is criminal, and I think you should think about it. Would you like to have this thing on top of your house? Believe me, I live next to a freeway. It's hellish. The noise is unrelenting. There's always another motorcycle, always another truck downshifting. So please, have a conscience. Stop this. Do some east-west routes, not north-south. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pablo Gonzalez. Next, Mr. Steve Netherby.
Good morning. My wife and I bought some property for retirement in 1998. We are refugees from Michigan, and we love the weather here, okay? One of the things that my wife and I decided to do way back in 1998 is mortgage a large chunk of money, $250,000. That $250,000 will be totally paid for within a couple of years. And we love the value of our property. We value the community, the friendship of most people. But the thing that scares us is how can it be that the people that run our county, our state, our city, continue to go further and further in debt, while my little debt, which to me is horrible, is almost paid for. You have doubled the amount of the debt for the roads that you had built before. Since that time, my debt is almost gone. A bank would not loan you the money if you were a resident, if you were a citizen. So how can you spend that kind of money, our money, by the way, for nothing? All that I ask is that you do as you promised. When I made my promise in 1998 to pay my bill, you made the same promise, that you would pay your bills and go out of business. You have not paid your bills, you have doubled your debt, and you're still in business making more money every year, each one of you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Steve Netherby, and next by Mr. Jerry Collar.
Good morning, Steve Netherby, San Clemente. For almost 2 decades, the TCA has pummeled the citizens of San Clemente with town-wrecking proposals for toll roads. First, it was an 8-lane obscenity just outside city limits through a land conservancy, a popular state park campground, a Native American sacred site, and the home to the world-famous trestle surf breaks. When state and federal agencies quashed that idea and a coalition of environmental groups negotiated an agreement with TCA that would abandon that route, TCA responded with new proposals that would effectively rip San Clemente in two, destroying the beach town my next door neighbor, a former 60 Minutes correspondent, calls a pearl on the sand. Overwhelmingly, citizens of San Clemente have risen up against these latest TCA absurdities. Still, a few residents and even council members have voiced nostalgia for the original route as it skirted most of the city. But that scheme, fortunately, is losing traction as more and more people become aware of the economic, environmental, and recreational value to San Clemente of those adjoining open space and parklands. Now some are proposing a softer approach to traffic relief, linking La Pata through the Cristianitos watershed to Cristianitos Road. This is a disastrous idea. The Cristianitos watershed is not disposable land. It is critical habitat and essential to the cleanness of San Mateo Creek and the world-renowned surf breaks of Trestles. It's also a crucial wildlife corridor for animals moving between Camp Pendleton and the wild San Clemente backcountry. Just as with the existing toll roads, a road through this land would not only cut off much beneficial natural migration, but inevitably lead to death by auto of such animals as deer, coyotes, and mountain lions. And now Jerry Colomer will do his impression of me finishing my speech.
These are Steve's words, and everybody that knows Steve Neserby in South Orange County knows that he's the most outdoorsy guy ever. So I'm finishing his 3 minutes. When I began running the trails of Cristianitos watershed 46 years ago, almost all the tracks I came across were of wildlife. Now, as San Clemente's active population grows, the tracks are increasingly hikers, trail runners, mountain bikers, people enjoying the recreation of our hills, valleys, stream beds, providing the quiet the more and more of us seek as respite from our hectic lives. The Cristianitos is not only an essential haven for wildlife, it's a buffer from the noise and pollution roads bring, and a priceless quality of life blessing for the citizens of San Clemente and anyone visiting San Clemente, and we have lots of visitors. The quickest, easiest solution to the gross inhumanity and insensitivity of your toll road plan is for you, TCA, all of you in this room, to grow out of your empire building stage and simply manage wisely the roads you've already built. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Dawn Urbanek. Ms. Dawn Urbanek. Followed by a video presentation by Mr. Mike Metcalf.
Hi, my name is Dawn Urbanek, and I'm just a parent that lives in San Clemente, and I actually live right on Camp Pendleton. I could throw a rock to Camp Pendleton, and I walk the state park every day. And I came today because after 3 months, I have filed many complaints with the Department of Real Estate over the Subdivision Map Act, and Fish and Wildlife, the Army Corps of Engineers. And this week I got some letters back, some responses, and I wanted to share with you the one from the Department of Real Estate. Basically, I'm going to read you one sentence. It says, while the department also has authority over the subdivision lands law, the department does not have the authority over the Subdivision Map Act, which is under the jurisdiction of the respective local agencies. That would be the County of Orange, for the land parcels in question. And guess who's ahead of the subdivision land map for the County of Orange? It's Shane Silsby. Guess who Shane Silsby is? Shane Silsby is named in the complaint filed by the Capistrano Unified School District because he's the one that the County of Orange administratively approved to make changes to the toll road without any oversight by the federal agencies. And I was shocked when I saw that, because where is the taxpayer supposed to go? Okay, I can't go to Todd Spitzer because he's my current DA, but he was also on the Orange County Board of Supervisors who approved these administrative approvals by Shane Silsby. So I can't go to my DA. I can't go to the Department of Real Estate. So all I'm left with now is going to the federal government. It's very unfair to the taxpayers, and that's where I'm going to go. The road should have stopped at Oso. You do not have the appropriate permits to build your road south of Oso Bridge. The TCA is using the water permit given to Rancho Mission Viejo to build a free road, not a toll road. You have 9 basins there. You were supposed to build 3. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mike Metcalf?
I'm Michael Metcalf from San Clemente, and I have a video that has a great deal of information. And I hope that you can pry yourselves away from your devices and pay some attention to the video, and maybe some of the information will stick with you. So,
welcome.
Without further ado, the video. It seems to be lacking the soundtrack. Also, 3 other of my colleagues are also presenting this video, so it'll run 8 minutes.
Where's the audio?
Yeah.
There's a song that goes with it, but Martha said we're going to play it.
Do you want to just read the headline?
All right. Well, there is an audio part to this, so I guess I'm going to have to fill in for that. But seems to be conflicts of interest. Who benefits from the TCA? Not the taxpayers. Kurt Pringle gets $6,000 a month. Smacks of corruption. Dinner for $35,000? The TCA is financing a monstrous public relations campaign.
The next person,
Well, okay, I hope you
thank you.
retain some of that information.
Followed by a lady by the name of Christy, then Martina, and then Kate.
I'm Christy, I'm also a San Clemente resident.
Do you know, can you describe what is up there since I can't see it?
There was supposed to be a lot more to it, so I don't have my glasses on. All I know is watching this right now is making me very emotional. I am one of the residents that would look at this toll road eye level. I look at the church every day as the ground is crumbling from underneath of it. And I just have a hard time putting into words what we've all been through for the last 15 years. I'm sorry, I have a small voice too. It upsets me that, like someone mentioned earlier, that we don't get listened to. And when I've been here many times, people are looking at their devices, they're laughing at us, calling us names. I think by reading all of these different things, it really puts into perspective what we're going through.
Hi, my name's Kate Mudge. This is part of my 2 minutes, but I'm going to talk over it since the music and the sound isn't working. I'm a resident of San Clemente. I've lived there for 14 years this month. I have 2 kids who are growing up in San Clemente. They go to Las Palmas Elementary School. They use our parks, schools, and open spaces every day. I am vehemently opposed to any toll road or managed lanes through Orange County, specifically San Clemente. I purchased my home 14 years ago now. It's on the western edge of Talega, which means my backyard view looks over the new La Pata extension, the new Target, the sports park, all things that were not there when I purchased my home. I do not want to look at a toll road. I have observed wildlife in my backyard, from roadrunners to hawks, rabbits to snakes, deer and coyotes. We are not the only living creatures that use this space. Let's respect that land. The extension is literally my backyard view. We don't need it. Just the other day, I drove La Pata Extension to Antonio, to Oso, got on the 241, made my way out to Pomona, no problem. We don't need the road extended through San Clemente. It's unnecessary, it's unlawful, as you're hearing, and there's way too much money being spent on developing this idea, but not actually building anything or doing anything with it. I ask that you stop and drop this idea, this unneeded, unwanted destruction of our open land, parks, schools, and our community. No toll road through South Orange County. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask you, I'm trying to watch this video, but then I have difficulty hearing a different conversation. So should we stop the video and listen to people, or what is your pleasure? Well, I'm not paying attention to her, so I'll read this, but it's difficult to do both.
The next lady,
That's still the video.
I'd like the video to continue to play while I'm speaking. I wasn't intending on speaking today. I just came here to support my fellow citizens of San Clemente and residents.
please state your first and last name, please.
My first name is Martina McBurney Wheeler, and I am a resident of San Clemente.
Thank you.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. The bottom line is the existing roads are not utilized and mismanaged. They are not profitable. It does not make sense to divide our city in half for a road that nobody wants and nobody is going to use. We will not stand for it. We will not tolerate it. We will fight you every step of the way. I promise you.
Chair, can I just ask that we have the clerk send this video around to all of the board members? 'Cause I know it was going pretty fast, and I think some of us were having trouble reading the slides as it went. Would that be
Yes,
helpful? Thank
yes,
you.
absolutely. With the audio. Thank you. Next, Ms. Michelle S.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
TCA members. So I just wanted to share with you that, you know, a $35,000 dinner, I think that that's a misappropriation of funds. And I hope that the FBI is here this year, by the end of the year. I honestly am so disappointed after 2 years of coming here monthly and sending letters to see how the various bills are proposed, how the politicians are schmoozing with the people that are paid with the TCA. It is disgusting to me as a taxpayer. And I know that most people in this room live their lives with integrity, and they're proud of what they do, and they're proud of their personal choices. And we all know the choices we make today, you know, affect our choices later. You guys are making choices that don't affect you. You're not listening to the people that they do affect. And let's just talk about the toll roads in general. Tolls are the least efficient mode of transportation because you have to do the collecting, you have to do the penalties. It has been proven time and time again to not be sustainable or successful. You can look across the nation, despite this, you know, pushing that you guys are doing and all the lobbyists you employ. You got them talking all over the Washington and at the state. This is the most inefficient transportation model there is, and it is old technology. There are hyperloops going in Denver and in Texas. What the heck's going on here, you guys? Please, please start asking some questions. Please start applying how you live your life in this boardroom today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, Mr. Don Brown, followed by Mr. Ken Nelson.
Good morning. My name is Don Brown. I'm a resident of the city of San Clemente. I'm a retired experimental test pilot from the Boeing Company in the Marine Corps. Original test pilot on the F-18, chief pilot on the C-17. My mantra to stay alive was in God we trust and all else bring data. So let's talk about some data. I've been on the planning commission of our town for 9 years, which is also our transportation committee. During that time, we updated our general plan, including our mobility element, and we were required by OCTA to update our traffic model to be eligible for M2 dollars, and we did that. Our traffic model conforms with OTEM, every time with SCAG and SANDAG, and we proved during that our transportation system and the county arterials will handle our traffic, including the development of Planning Area 8, a ranch development. Its only connection to the world is San Clemente. That's 1,800 homes and 1.2 million square feet of industrial. That's the data. With La Pata and the county arterials, the traffic models support, the data supports the road infrastructure that's being built without the toll roads. That's the data, and that's what you have to look at. So it's time to retrench and refocus the toll road mantra and mission. It's time to go into a fiscal responsible posture and start paying down the debt. It's time for OCTA to step up to the plate and take the lead in all traffic requirements in our county, as they're chartered to do. It's time for our Board of Supervisors to step up into plate and be accountable for that and defend their very fine OCTA and work on our transportation system. It's time for you to be accountable, in addition to the responsibility you have for the fiscal responsibility of this organization, the debt on San Clemente and all the rest of Orange County. Thank you.
After Mr. Nielsen, I would like to have in the queue Jackson Hinckley and Zoya Tolusa.
Okay, my name's Ken Nielsen. I'm a 72-year resident of San Clemente. I went to San Clemente High School. My daughters, both of them went to San Clemente High School. Their four kids, my grandkids are going to go to San Clemente High School. I sure as hell don't want a toll road going over the top of our school. That's baloney. And especially a toll road that's going broke. mean, if I ran my business like you guys have run this thing, I'd be long gone. I'd be burning my business. It's ridiculous, all the money that has been spent, and it's not making any sense. It's time for the old roads to be free. That's what I heard a long time ago. They're going to be free. Now you're borrowing money on these roads. That's ridiculous. Also, we need to be some accountability so that we know where you're spending all this money, and I hope you can do that. And no toll road through San Clemente. And it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea at all. I don't take the toll road, never have. Don't plan on it. I'm sure there's people who need to do it, but it isn't me. The road we have is fine. They just rebuilt the road through our town, enlarged it. They put lanes for, I mean, what do you, I can't think, got a brain. Yeah, they put HOV lanes through it, and it's expanded. It's working really nice, other than the landslide at the church. But and you're going to build a toll road right through that area where the landslides are. You should come look at that. It's pretty nasty, and it's right next to our high school also. And I'm just looking at all you guys because I don't know a lot of you guys, but I know a few of you, and I hope you're taking this really seriously and get the hell out of this business. Get a real job, because you're not. This ain't working. And if you're going to borrow all this money, it ain't going to cut it. You'll never pay it back. You'll be borrowing more. And a lot of you don't have a job, but you're getting paid anyway. So talk to you later.
Jackson Hinckley.
My name is Jackson Hinkle. I'm a resident of San Clemente, and I'm here today because the TCA is not living up to their mission statement of enhancing mobility in South Orange County and Southern California as a whole. It's become abundantly clear that the mission and the actions of the TCA are instead to do everything within their power to funnel public funds and taxpayer dollars into the pockets of consultants and lobbyists who are out advocating for your wildly unpopular interests of building a toll road through our community. I'm here today not only because the TCA hasn't built a new road since 1996. Your overextended debt has skyrocketed from $2 to $6 billion in that time, but also because of a recent Los Angeles Times article by Adam Elmerick, which was truly disgusting in what it reported. Consultants from Venture Strategic being paid $175, $185 an hour to read emails. Certain consultants were being paid 7 and 6 hour workdays, even though their timesheets were only reporting working for 2 hours. One consultant from Kurt Pringle and Associates, her name Katie Pringle, the daughter of Kurt Pringle, she was being paid for 28-hour workdays. How stupid do you think we are? 28-hour workdays. And then in that same article, the CFO of the TCA came out and said that they apologized for paying 28-hour workdays to Katie Pringle, and that we meant to pay 14-hour workdays for Katie Pringle. As if we are to believe that Katie Pringle or any other consultant from Kurt Pringle, Venture Strategic, are truly working 14-hour workdays, let alone 7 and 6 hour workdays, just to read emails is absurd. We need accountability. We need each of you, each of the directors here to stand up and demand an independent audit. And if you don't, you are complicit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. After Ms. Tolosa, the last request for comment would be Adrian Marks.
Good morning. My name is Zoila Tolosa, and I'm back as I've been coming here since 2017, looking at every one of you, asking for fiscal responsibility. I've been pleading and asking for you to listen to the facts that have been put in front of you. In March of 2018, IBI, a reputable engineering firm, confirmed that the toll road is not needed as it will provide it will not provide traffic relief, and on the contrary, it will generate more traffic and a bottleneck at the county line. TCA is a redundant agency to OCTA. We no longer need them. They have not built a road since 1996, yet they have continued to collect assessment fees, taxes from each and every one of us. They want to keep studying things and reinventing the wheel rather than admit they are finished and should begin to pay off the bonds instead of refinance their debt, making the toll roads free as their charter mandates. Why is this agency not being held accountable to the public? If mobility solutions were truly their goal, making the roads free as they were intended to be would open up the 73 as well as the 241 to all people, not just the ones that could afford, the toll road, the ones that have business accounts that don't care how much it's costing their pockets. We need to alleviate traffic flow from the 5 and the 91, not in the south end. It's been proven. We have weekend traffic, summer traffic that we deal with, but it is not right for this agency not to be held accountable and ignore the facts of these reports that have come out to show that they are blowing money, paying lobbyists, shaking hands, $35,000 dinners for 2 tables of 10. Is there any accountability amongst you to look within and listen to the public? You need to be accountable to us. You're serving us, not the TCA. Thank you.
Thank you. The last one is Ms. Adrienne Marks.
Good morning. Today I'm here to voice my support of an independent audit and further transparency measures for TCA. All meetings should be open to the public and subject to the Brown Act. It's clear that TCA has lost their original purpose to manage the toll roads in order to pay down the debt and make the toll roads free for everybody to use. Instead of having additional roads for all of us to use, we have additional debt to pay down due to the misuse of funds and refinancing of debt. Many of us in this room will never live to see these roads as free. TCA keeps planning, yet they have done nothing for the last 20 years. And they're not a planning committee. Their charter was to manage the toll roads and pay off the debt. TCA is out of control with spending our money to fill their own back pockets. There appear to be so many backdoor dealings, and I encourage all of you to watch the video that was presented earlier when it's sent to you. It seems that so many people at TCA are opposed to focusing on paying down the debt because they're profiting from extending the debt and building more toll roads. And I won't go into it over again, but another speaker detailed out some of the evidence of the misuse of funds that was reported in the LA Times article last month. And if you haven't read it, you should. And I encourage you all to look into this matter further on your own and ask, why is this happening? Why is this being allowed? And if none of this is true about these funds being misused, and all these backdoor dealings going on to fill friends and families' back pockets, then there should be 100% support of an independent audit and the Brown Act to be implemented immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, just for the record, that was the last request for public comments, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chair Miniger, I will be submitting 28 comments sent to me via email.
Very good, thank you. So we are moving on, the public comment section is closed. We are moving on to the consent calendars, items 1 through 5. This is only for San Joaquin Hills, TCA.
So moved.
It was moved by Director Munzing, and it was seconded by Director Heft. All in favor say aye.
Mr. Chair, excuse me.
Supervisor Wagner.
Let me note, please, an abstention on the minutes.
Very good, so noted. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It was approved. Moving on to items 1 through 4 and item number 6 of consent calendars by Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency board members. only.
I'll make that, please. So moved.
It was moved by Director Boyce and seconded by,
I need to pull item 4.
very good, Director Mueller. Which items?
4.
Okay, item number 4 was pulled by Director Mueller. It was seconded by Director Huang. All in favor?
Mr. Chair, let me note an abstention also
So noted.
on the consent calendar.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It was approved. And now we're moving on to item number 4. Director Mueller,
I
the
just have
floor is yours.
I have a clarification effort or question on page 2. It says the committee voted by a margin of 6-2. And it notes here that there's only, I don't know where the 2 no votes were. I thought that was a unanimous vote.
No, I believe there were 2 no votes on that. Do you have them listed?
And if they are, they're not listed on the,
If I could, it was Mike Muncy and Lisa Bartlett at that committee meeting, if you
That's correct.
recall.
okay, well, they're not noted as no votes in the minutes.
Okay, I think that was an oversight then. I think we normally indicate what those are, so I believe that that was just an oversight.
Okay, that was it. I'll move the item.
So, Madam Clerk, you're going to make the clarification and amplification with regard to item number 4. So it was
And I'll
moved,
second that, please.
okay, it was seconded by Director Kring, I beg your pardon, and
I moved it.
it was moved by Director Mueller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It was moved and approved. Now, moving on to the board business items, 7 through 9. Joint San Joaquin Hills TCA and Foothill Eastern TCA State Legislative Status Report. Mr. Mike Chesney, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Director Minigar, Director Shea, members of the board. My name is Mike Chesney. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for TCA. The item before you is a state legislative
Can you
item.
please
It
hold?
is-
We do have a speaker for item 7.
Okay.
After the report, I would like to request from Mr. Tony Hayes to come to the podium. Thank you.
Before or after?
After the presentation.
Okay. So the item before you is an update on AB 1273 board item. We will be requesting an action at the end, and we do have others that we have brought in to answer questions in case there are detailed questions about this after the presentation. For today, we will go over some of the impacts of AB 1273, and we will also take a time to set some, I'll say, the record straight on some of the facts and history of TCA's history and finances. And again, we will have a board action request at the end. First, AB 1273, you can read here some of the poignant impacts to the agency that this bill will have. I would like to point to the 5th bullet, which is eliminates our authority to plan, design, finance, construct, and roadways beyond the current system. What the point I'd like to make here is not only extending, but it would prevent our agency from doing any capacity enhancements within the existing footprint. Our roads were created because of demand, and so some of the history here, back in the 70s, our roads were always on the Orange County Master Plan of Arterial Highways. There just wasn't any state or federal funding to build these roads. And so there were some innovative Orange County leadership at the time that thought of ways to get private financing for these roads and get them constructed. Today, we are 51 miles, 20% of the Orange County major highway system. We do carry 325,000 transactions a day on our system. We have 1.5 million account holders. And you can see that they are built parallel to the freeways, which are the 405, 5, the 55, and the 91. It is a choice for drivers. They do not have to use our toll roads. They can use other freeways. And we say that it does benefit those freeways because we take 325,000 trips off there every day. Now, our legislative authority was granted in 1986. There was following legislation that authorized us to administer tolls to pay for these roads. These were planned and financed privately by bonds through Wall Street and banks. We are 2 JPAs administered by one staff, and we do have authority to administer tolling and also to collect development impact fees to pay back the debt for the constructed roadways. Innovation, we were the first in the nation to do the design build model with private financing. We have more account types in our agency for our customers than any other toll agency in the nation. And we were the entity with design build authority for the state that is in perpetuity. Important to note, our paying back the bonds is with toll revenues and not taxpayer dollars. And our congestion price roads actually create a free flow condition that is critical to the Southern California Association of Governments, our region, in meeting greenhouse gas targets. The San Joaquin Hills cities, I just wanted to note, these are, just for your information, the accounts, average daily trips taken by residents of the various cities of the members of our board, as well as the number of vehicles registered to our accounts. This is the San Joaquin Hills cities, and here are the Foothill Eastern cities. If you total them up, it's about 450,000 accounts of the 1.5 million are part of our your member cities, as well as over 1 million vehicles registered to our accounts. Financial stability and sustainability. We are financially stable. After the refinancings in 2013 and 14 that took advantage of historically low interest rates, the board voted to refinance our debt structure into a very stable and sustainable level. We now have the ability to make debt service payments with headroom and ability to weather downturns and fluctuations in toll revenue. And I would like to note that we are investment grade. Both of our agencies have A- ratings on our debt. This is a slide that I wanted to take a little bit of time on. We wanted to see if we took all of the traffic that is on the toll roads every day and put them onto the adjacent freeways. We created this showing with the toll roads, the 55, the 405, and I-5 show the number of average daily trips that are taken. That's what the 280,000, 290,000 and such show. The red numbers are if we took the toll road traffic, the 325,000, and moved them over, that is what you would have on those three freeways. We compared that to the top 10 busiest freeway systems in the country, and you see that those three fall into the top 4. The potential negative impact of AB 1273 is that walking through this, if freeways are congested now, the vehicles move to our toll roads. If our toll roads are congested, we have the ability to add capacity and build lanes. If AB 1273 passes, we cannot build that additional capacity. Hence, then the traffic from our toll roads would spill into local city streets and arterials. So summing this up, again, the negative impacts of AB 1273 by Assemblyman Breaux, which shows here, but the most important I'd say is that it's detrimental in that it prevents us from doing any improvements currently to our system footprint. And with that, Chairman Agar, we will be requesting an action to oppose, to adopt an opposed position. We do have, of course, Amy Potter, our CFO, and Bob Rich, our financial advisor here to answer questions on anything on financing. And we do have Richard Harris here, our Sacramento lobbyist, to answer any questions on the bill.
Very good. Thank you for your presentation. Before we get into asking other special guests to make any kind of comments, I would like to open the public comments for item number 7 only, and the only one that I have is from Mr. Tony Hayes. The podium is yours, sir.
My name is Tony Hayes. I'm a resident of San Clemente. Mr. Chairman, board members, I'm sure you don't need to be reminded, but maybe some of the public does, as to what the mission of the TCA is, and I'll read from your website. The Transportation Corridor Agencies were created with a very clear mission of enhancing mobility in Orange County and Southern California by developing and operating publicly owned toll facilities as part of the regional transportation system, end quote. Note that it is not part of the TCA's mission to consider whether toll roads are the best solution for the region's transportation problems. So who does the TCA answer to? The bondholders from whom they have borrowed vast amounts of money to build toll roads, or the public interest. It has become increasingly obvious from a number of people who are here today that the TCA are not serving the public interest, and the government of California has a responsibility of reconsidering TCA's powers, which include taxation and eminent domain, with very little powers of oversight from the state or regional governments. The Orange County Transit Authority mission is more clearly aligned with serving the public interest. Its mission includes different modes of transportation and is therefore in a much better position to decide what is the best mix. The TCA's Board of Directors should consider what is best for the citizens of South Orange County. Is it better for decisions to be made by any agency whose responsibilities include all modes of transportation, or to have decisions made by an agency whose only purpose is to build toll roads? If the TCA does not agree to subsume its mission with those of the OCTA, then the state should take that action. I would urge everyone here to support AB 1273 and write to Bill Brough or your elected assembly person to support AB 273 and show our support.
Thank you, sir. Now, the public comments are closed. I would like to ask Mr. Bob Rich to make any comments if you have.
I don't have any specific comments.
Very good. Then we're going to call upon you when there are any specific questions from the board members. All right. At this time, for the San Joaquin Hills Transportation Corridor Agency, do I have a motion?
I have several questions, actually. We're being asked today.
Director Bain is recognized.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're being asked today, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly, to approve submission of letters from each agency to the State Assembly Committee on Local Governments and other legislative bodies. That's correct, right? That's what we're being asked to do?
Yes.
Okay, haven't we already done that? Didn't we do that on April 4th? Didn't Mr. Cramen already send a letter?
Mr. CEO, Mike Cramen?
Yes, based on the legislative platform approved by the board, I submitted a letter in opposition based on the contents of that. What you're being asked for today is for the board to take a position of opposition. It's not related to sending letters, it's to take an opposition position. That's what adopt an opposed position on AB 1273. That's what's being asked by the board today.
Well, it says in the staff report, I just want to make sure, it says submit letters. So that's already been done. So I'm going to get to my concern then.
Please.
So we're being asked to take board action on something that's already happened. So I guess my first question is, if we decide today to take a neutral position on behalf of San Joaquin, or even a support position, how are we going to deal with that in light of the fact that we've already sent a letter? And I understand the legislative platform, but the hearing, based on my understanding, is not until April 24th. So I don't know why we couldn't have waited on this letter until we took the formal action today. So two parts. First is process. I'm a little bit concerned about what we're being asked to do, because if we're going to be asked as a board to take action, but it's already been taken by staff, the question is obviously who's running the agency, the board or staff. So and I want to finish up, because I want this to be lost. Looking at the content of the letter, I have a number of disagreements about the factual statements that were made, and I want to make sure that we're, as a board, going to be able to go over that, because the information that we send out needs to be accurate. So
Your points are well taken. Please, very briefly, and then I'm going to turn it over to our legal counsel.
well, and I just, on those points, and I appreciate that. I think I have several minutes. I want to be able to go through each of these and ask questions.
How many do you have?
Well, there's 10 paragraphs, so I'm probably going to have 10 questions.
I wanted to ask the indulgence of my colleagues.
Well, I think this is important, and asking questions. I mean, if we're going to be asked to effectively ratify a letter.
Mr. Chairman? You're
Director
asking
Wagner.
for our indulgence, and I would like to suggest that the issue is what position this organization will take with respect to AB 1273. Once we decide whether there's a position, then it would be appropriate to come back and maybe go through some of those specific issues. I don't know if it's in an ad hoc committee. I'm the new guy. I don't know how this board operates, but I think we're a little ahead of the game right now. And maybe it is bad on staff that a letter got submitted, but hang on, please. This request to go through it in detail is ahead of the game, putting the cart before the horse, whatever metaphor you want to use. Let's decide what the board is going to do, and then let's talk about how we express whatever opinion the board decides, and not go back and because we can't undo what's been done. Maybe the idea is we correct the record. But you asked for our indulgence. That's my 2 cents on where we are.
Thank you, sir. Director Beal is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been a long-standing friend and supporter of Assemblyman Bill Breaux, but today I urge the TCA Board of Directors to oppose Assembly Bill 1273. I believe this bill is ill-conceived, and as demonstrated by the letter that we received from the Assemblyman's office, it's based upon false, incomplete, misleading information and a complete misunderstanding about how these toll roads were built and how they're paid for. In my opinion, this bill was written by San Clemente. This bill is designed to benefit the city of San Clemente, and it's all for purely political purposes. Purely political purposes. If enacted, Assembly Bill 1273, it would harm the quality of life for all residents in Orange County and beyond. It would also endanger public safety. By that, toll roads constitute a fire break in the event of any type of significant wildfire, emergency evacuation routes, redundancy of routes if the main 5 freeway is shut down. It's an assault on local control. Take a look at these, Mr. Chair.
We listen to you, please. Thank you.
It's an assault on local control. Every one of the directors sitting up here is a representative of an agency, a stakeholder in this county with years and years collectively dedicated to increasing mobility, improving the quality of life of the residents of Southern California. And we deserve respect. And this, it's not even a thinly veiled attempt. It's an attempt to put the TCA out of business, which is exactly what some in San Clemente have been urging for a long time, regardless of the impacts to the rest of the region. And for that reason, I urge today the Board of Directors to take a clear, unequivocal position of opposition to Assembly Bill 1273.
Thank you.
Chair.
Director.
And just for the record, I'd like to move that we adopt such a position today.
I second.
Second.
Oh, sorry. Director O'Neill, did you have any comments? Just Director O'Neill and Vice Chair Connors are recognized. Okay,
Mr.
Director
Chair,
O'Neill.
I had a point of order, perhaps. We're only talking about the San Joaquin corridors at the moment.
Yes, it's a joint discussion, but at this juncture would be for.
I'm on Foothill Eastern. My motion relates to Foothill Eastern.
Well taken.
I will move.
Then
No, I'd
please.
like, give me just a minute, please. So first off, I don't think Mr. Bain was done speaking, so I do want to make sure we come back.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I do want to make the point, because most of the folks here are certainly focused, I believe, primarily on the Foothill Eastern discussion, the 241, the exchange down below. San Joaquin, we're looking primarily at the 73. With the 73, there is a substantial difference. And I do think that when we have a matter on the agenda that is going to be specifically discussing whether as a policy making board, we would like to oppose or not oppose something, it would be helpful in the future if staff would wait until we've made the decision before sending out a letter of on a policy on this front. Because I do think, and I'll just point this out, there is a difference between the interests of San Joaquin and the interests of Foothill Eastern when it comes to this particular assembly bill. I think that when you're talking about the San Joaquin board, it's important to focus on the fact that Assemblymember Bro has made comments specific to the debt. And I will point out for San Joaquin, certainly, well over 3/4 of the expenditures on San Joaquin are going toward the debt pay down, and the refinancing that's been referenced a few times here. The goal was not to extend the life of the TCA, it was to reduce the payments, thereby hopefully, frankly, ballooning some of it to get some of it down on the back end. That would be, it's a while down the road, but I would hope that would happen. And then there is a central area of the 73 that may someday need to be filled in with another lane, and hopefully the outside lanes, we can find a way to make those free. And find ways to, if we are going to be as part of a regional transportation network, the 73 as a focus is something that needs to be addressed. That being said, it's a totally different discussion for Foothill Eastern than what we're talking about on San Joaquin. And so that's why I wanted to make sure, especially when we're sending out a letter on Transportation Corridor Agency letterhead, it would be really helpful if we made the distinction between the interests of the San Joaquin corridor, or the San Joaquin agency and the Foothill agency, because there are differences. And I believe that this particular bill is focused primarily on the Foothill Eastern board. And I would think that there is a little bit of collateral damage that would come toward the San Joaquin on this bill. So if Assemblymember Bro's bill is designed to focus specifically on what's going on the Foothill Eastern, he should say so and make sure that that's the focus. So I would like to make sure that we were talking about the differences, and that's why I wanted to make sure as a point of order I understood which portion we were talking about at the moment.
Mr. CEO, no comments. Very good. Okay, moving on to...
Further point of comment, Mr. Chair, or point of order, Mr. Chair, apologies. I did not mean to interrupt Director Bain. You had called for the sense of the committee, which I was offering, but I do believe that he has the floor and should be permitted at this point to continue before we get the rest of us our opinions on this. I do believe it is Mr. Bain who has the floor.
Absolutely, except there are a few board members that have to go to Orange County Fire Authority's special program today at 11.
It's your meeting. I just wanted to make sure that
I provide every board member to express their comments. Vice Chair Connors is recognized, and then I get back to you.
I just have a comment on process. I want the people in the audience to recognize that all of us listened carefully to you when you had something to say. I looked around and people were not on their devices. They were watching you and listening to you with respect. We indulged and didn't object when you applauded your colleagues and your neighbors in their statements. But this is a government meeting and not a soccer game. And catcalls and applause and boos and hisses are not appropriate, and it doesn't advance your cause. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I get back to Director Bain, any other comments by any other board members? Director Munzing is recognized.
I was more formally going to move the San Joaquin corridor on that item for opposition, supporting Tony's comments.
Okay, you are on San Joaquin and Director Beal is on Foothill East.
Right, so he moved it for Foothill. I'm moving it for San Joaquin.
Well taken, well noted. Let me make sure that Director Bain, I give you sufficient time, very briefly, to go over those quick items, and then we're going to be going through the votes.
So I think I have 5 minutes, correct?
Chair, pardon me.
And I'm going to take all that time.
Is it your intention, I apologize, point of order?
Yes, Director Marriott is recognized.
Is it your intention after Director Bain walks through those points to not return for comment prior to the vote?
Well, I'm trying to maximize the efficiency of the board members' timing.
If it's not your intention to come back, I'd like to comment before we return.
In that, then please, I give you 5 minutes. please go over all those items, and then we're going to go back to the final deliberation, and then we're going to be casting our.
Thank you, Chair.
Great,
The floor
thank
is
you.
yours.
So I'm gonna back up. I'll get back to the letter in a minute, but I'm gonna echo Director O'Neill's comments that it is a much different circumstance for San Joaquin. And, you know, San Joaquin is built out. It was the 73. So talking about not doing new projects shouldn't be a concern to this board because the 73 is not going to be extended. And my understanding is that the TCMs now are being, the TCA has made a request to OCTA to take the TCMs concerning the widening of the 73 off the table. If that's the case, what are we talking about? We're not doing any further projects. We should be paying down the bonds, which is exactly what this legislation is designed to do, and making the roads free as promised. And I've read all of these enactments. That's exactly what this agency was supposed to do. Going back to the letter, you know, a couple of questions I have. How does AB 1273 threaten the historic settlement agreement that was executed? I mean, the whole point of this bill is to stop development after 2020, so I'm interested to know how that would threaten the settlement agreement. It's not an assault on local control, in my mind. I mean, many of the members of this board sit on OCTA. Nothing is stopping the OCTA from pursuing any of these projects. Is that correct? The second point is that the AB 1273 circumvents the California Environmental Quality Act. And Mr. Chesney, I hope you're writing these down because I'd like an answer. How does it circumvent the Environmental Quality Act? I can't see how it does. And again, AB 1273 is a job killer. As to the San Joaquin, I'm not sure what else we're going to be building. The 73 is built out. We're not going to be proceeding with the widening per the TCA's request that those TCMs be taken off the table. So again, I'm not understanding why that would be a threat to jobs. We talked about that it severs the landmark agreement between the legislature and the County of Orange to ensure that developers pay their fair share. So in San Clemente, I know that every household is paying $5,200 towards development fees per house, and that's not being paid by the developers, that's being passed on to residents. And I know that one business owner, a dentist, who is not a developer, paid $42,000 in DIF fees related to development. These aren't developers. These are ordinary people like each of us on the board and in the audience that are paying these fees, and for what? And I would encourage the board to go back and look at the enacting legislation for both of these agencies. There were very specific defined routes that these DIF fees were based on. AB 1413 was very clear on what charges, areas of benefit that these DIF fees could be charged. We've sort of changed the game, and I'll let Director Ferguson talk about the old green alignment, but we're charging fees now related to an alignment that doesn't exist anymore. So I'd like to know how, you know, we're making developers pay their fair share when it seems like it's actually ordinary citizens who are having to pay for these costs, not developers. And finally, I'd like to know how this bill is going to lead to dirtier air in Orange County. OCTA is our regional training planning organization in Orange County, not the TCA. This bill doesn't strip the OCTA of their ability to continue to develop roads. All it's saying is, speaking for the San Joaquin, we need to start paying down the bonds, make the roads free as always intended, and go out of business. So, you know, I have concerns about process. I'm not sure why this letter went out ahead of time, especially before the board vote. Is there a way for us to retract this letter and modify it so it's more specific to San Joaquin, as Mr. O'Neill suggested? I don't know how to unring this bell now, but I think, you know, going forward, it's incredibly important that we make a decision first, that it's thought out. There was absolutely no rush for this letter to have been sent out. The hearing is not even until the 24th. And frankly, I'd like to be able to discuss what should have gone in the letter if there's going to be an opposed position, because it needs to be factually correct. I think the public deserves that. And you know, I need answers to these questions, so I'll yield to Mr. Chesney to answer those.
Thank you very much. Before we turn over to Mr. Chesney, I wanted to recognize Director Marriott from the city of San Juan.
Thank you. So mainly, I just want to make sure we all have an opportunity to comment before the vote is taken. If now's the time, that's fine. I think the bill is imperfect. I think the bill that was put forward roughly 8 or 10 months ago that was heard in Senate Transportation was imperfect. I'm probably going to vote not to oppose this, though, for a couple of reasons, things that I've observed the last 2.5 years on the board. I'm a big fan of the toll road. We've driven it every day for 10 or 11 years now, both my wife and I. I think much about it has been done extremely, extremely well. It has not come out or played out exactly how it was intended with the enabling legislation. There's certainly been some twists and turns. We are certainly over indebted relative to the cost of construction. We've had the benefit of dramatically lower interest rates that's helped with cash flow. I'm not sure where we would have been without that. Doesn't mean it's a failure by any means. To me, the only time I see a real meaningful check-in on something is when the stuff hits the fan a little bit, as is happening with the contracts and oversight of the contracts. In a way, I think these two issues are related. I think we're here discussing this because the politics of this has gotten so dramatic and so intense because of the exceptionally poor job with the 20 routes coming down to 8 and so on and so forth. So the two are related. Sadly, I don't think we're going to get the proper discussion with folks having to leave on the other item before us today, which we waited to put on. But mainly, I think it's appropriate for the bill to be heard with its flaws in committee. If you watch the hearing in the Senate Transportation hearing, you do see some interesting questions posed as to why things have come about so differently than one was originally intended. Some of the things that were warned against by California's Department of Finance and other parties to those discussions in the late 80s have kind of played out. And one is that we still have taxpayers paying for maintenance on the roads many, some decades later than originally anticipated. So mainly, I think if it helps to flesh out a few things that may not get looked at critically otherwise, I think it's healthy to do so. One is the funding gap. Clearly, these toll roads, as the panacea for the future, have a funding gap. We are cash flowing for reasons that have nothing to do with things executing as was planned in the late 80s. It's a function of refinancing, dramatically lower interest rates, and a couple of other things. At some level, we got lucky, but I'm sure there's a lot of great people that had to do with helping to create that luck as well. But there is a funding gap. So if we move forward on another big project like this, does the state have to put in more money? Do the feds have to be involved? Because we can't do it exactly the same way. Okay, so that's one. Second is we have this ongoing planning conflict with the OCTA, which is a true planning agency. When the enabling legislation talked about us planning roads, they were talking about planning the road, not whether the road was necessary. It's a major distinction. And I think the only way to flesh that out and cause people to look at it seriously is to hear it in committee with the body that initially enabled this agency, this JPA. It also will serve as a legislative check-in some 30 years later that's probably long, long overdue because some of the flaws have to be recognized by a legislature that's going to be asked again and has been asked again in the interim and will be asked in the future to empower other JPAs. And I'm very, very concerned about the developer fees and the gas tax, the several millions of dollars every year that is spent by our tax-paying residents through the gas tax, which, as we all know, has gone up dramatically. Particularly if you drive a diesel. But anyways, they're paying for it years after that was supposed to expire. So for these things to have a more critical look, despite the imperfections, I've spoken to Assemblyman Breaux. I assume his intent, we can't bash every politician that's made a major statement on this, because of the politics. These are duly elected legislators, whether it's Pat Bates making a very strong statement, Bill Breaux and others. They're making the statements for a reason. This is the agency's kind of take on mission creep and empire building to sort of the extreme at this point. And we have to assume their intent is honorable. So I'm not going to vote to oppose this. I don't mind if it gets heard in committee hearing and some of this stuff gets fleshed out a little bit better by some other decision makers. Thank you.
Yes, please. Director Beal is recognized, and then Director Mueller.
Thank you. With respect to the comments and the many questions that were raised with respect to Mr. Craman's letter, I would just like to clarify for the record. As I read the letter, I understood this to be a personal letter of his personal positions, and it's quite clear that he says, I am writing to express my strong opposition. I strongly urge, I'd just like clarification. Was this intended to be some reflection of a board's action?
Mr. CEO, Kramer?
It was written in my position as the CEO, and that's why, and we have the board taking the position today. So I identified myself as I and as the CEO right in the letter.
And if I may interject, that is my exact recollection. I recall that vividly, that you wrote the letter on behalf of the agency as the CEO. Thank you. Okay, Director Mueller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for clarifying that, because I did have some concerns about us sending out a position letter before we voted. I thought that may have been a little premature, especially since this group hadn't had a chance, even though this legislation is so damaging to this organization. There was actually a point where it was critical that we did get a position on record. My question is more, I don't want to reiterate what Director Beal said, because I agree to him almost to the T. However, I'm also a very good friend of Assemblyman Breaux, and I've worked with him for the last 5 years on different issues. But my issue is more of, what's the impact of this legislation on other agencies? If it were to do what most people believe it's to do, is to shut down TCA, what would be the impact to OCTA, to Caltrans, relationships with OCTC, and how this network could actually operate, and how they could operate it? I mean, the way it's written, it almost looks like OCTA wouldn't have any more authority to do anything that we do right now. I mean, it would limit tolling options and connection options. And I think without having that explained, that's something that we need to investigate a little bit more deeply. I think on the surface, you're going to have certain groups of people that think this is a good thing because it serves their immediate needs. But there's an overall impact to the entire region. And I also sit on OCTA. And so we need to take a look at regional impacts of legislation like this, not just how it impacts one individual agency. We need to take a deeper dive into this and make sure that it doesn't hamstring the successor agencies in the future going forward with what the regional mobility needs are of our county. And so, those are things that I'd want to have a little bit more investigation into. I'm not an attorney. I've had a couple attorneys come to me and express concerns about it, but haven't taken a definitive position. So, I would recommend at this point, approval of the opposition. And to go back to the 73-241, I don't think there's a difference. They are limiting the 73's ability to operate the same as they're limiting the 241's ability to operate. And so to try to bifurcate those, I don't think that's an appropriate position to take. However, I respect the position that they are different agencies, and they do operate. They don't really operate differently. We just have other projects on the record over here. So the other thing I want to talk about is, I was on the phone with Assemblyman Breaux this morning, specifically talking about what he was trying to accomplish with this bill. And it comes down to planning. He's concerned that over the last 20 years, every time TCA has tried to extend the road, it becomes down to a planning issue. Who's responsible for the planning, who's not? Is it OCTA, is it TCA? And OCTA is the regional planning partner, but that doesn't mean that when TCA is looking at these routes, that they were the original routes when the JPA was formed, that we don't have to take a look at impacts on other freeways. If we're going to connect to the 5, we need to study what's going to happen on the 5. And so to say we're out of our lane, I disagree with that. I mean, we need to know the entire impact of the project. The 241-91 comes up. We need to talk to RCTC and OCTA about the impact of those projects. We have to look at other roadways that we may not have responsibility for, but our roads will impact. So in discussing this with Assemblyman Breaux this morning, and we're not agendized for me to talk about this, but this is something that he and I were talking about. We need to create, and he wants to create a committee with himself and Senator Bates, TCA representatives and OCTA representatives, to really sit down and talk about, Caltrans will be there too. They always are. So Ryan will probably be there. And talk about how we're going to plan regional mobility and who's going to take over what role. That was something when I got on OCTA that was very important to me. to get these agencies working together and figuring out what are we going to do? Do these alternative paths make sense? Do they not? Who's going to build them? Who's not? Or who's going to build them? Who's going to fund them? Or who's not going to build them? Because they may not make sense. And we're at that point right now. We don't know if anything's going to be built. We're in a studies phase. And I understand there's concern on San Clemente. I understand any city would be concerned about any major road being built through their community. But we have to study that first. We don't even know if it's going to be built. So I'm going to bring this back up in director comments because we can't discuss creating that committee here because it was not agendized. I'm going to ask that be put on a future agenda and talk to the board chairs because they are in recess next week and they would like to meet next week. So I'm going to turn that over to the board chairs and work with staff to figure out how we could do that if it makes sense to do it. I'm also going to be talking to Tim Shaw, the chair of OCTA, and put the same request to him and have him work with staff on how we can go about creating that committee. So at this point, I think there's too much unknown about this bill. On the surface, it looks very damaging to every agency that could have impact on this roadway system, and we need to oppose it just based on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Mueller. Director Ferguson is recognized.
Oh, thank you, Chair Miniger. I have a comment and then I have a question. My comment is regarding the green alignment that Director Bain had noted earlier, that AB 1273 does not threaten the settlement agreement with the environmental groups. That alignment was already denied by several government entities, including Coastal Commission, California Coastal Commission, the San Diego Regional Water Quality Board, and the U.S. Department of Commerce. My question, however, for Mr. Chesney is regarding placing the TCA planning under OCTA. And in Assemblymember Bill Bro's letter in his legislation says the toll road can still plan by going through OCTA, the county planning authority. So how does that affect TCA's planning in terms of capacity? Can't they still plan that under OCTA?
I will attempt to answer that, and then I'll ask my CEO to chime in as well. But our planning authority is such that whatever we do, we work in concert with OCTA now, and we cannot do anything, especially on the 5 or 4 or 5 or other freeways that are part of the state DOT system, without their consent. And we understand that, and that's something where we do need to coordinate closely with them on any planning project that we have, because likely any major capital improvement project we have does impact other roads. And so that is how we operate right now, so I don't see that changing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ferguson. Director Penaloza and then Director Huang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to state what Director Mueller stated is I don't support this bill just because we need to look at the same regional detrimental effects that it will have on all the other agencies in the county. And so I won't speak too much on that and just repeat what was already said. But I do agree with Director Bain that the process in this letter, yes, it was coming directly from our CEO, but all our city names are underneath. You know, it's on the letterhead. It represents all of us. So this should have, come before us before this letter was sent. I will give Director Bain that because I do agree that the process should have come before us. So just, to note that. And that's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Director Huang.
I meant to wait until we go over to the foothill side, but since we're short on time, I'm just jumping in.
The discussion is mutual.
Okay. I think that I'm going to speak for the North counties, and I understand for this bill, it seems to be directed at the South County issues, specifically San Clemente. But I have problems with bills that are trying to solve or address one concern in one particular area and forget the rest of the region. And I think it's important for this board to understand that we look at the entire region and the benefits and the detriment to the entire region. For the North County, we're very different. We're asking for toll extensions. We're asking for the toll road to come in and do something because the traffic is on our arterial. for the city of Yorba Linda. We carry nearly 7,000 cars that should be on the 91 freeway 241 corridor, and it's on our surface street. For the cities of Orange and Anaheim, they are carrying the traffic on their arterials because they cannot use the 241 to connect to the 91. And so it's going through their city streets. We are using our local taxpayers' dollars to maintain our local streets in order to take care of the traffic congestion. So without the toll road extension in our area, the cities are suffering. The money that we can use to benefit our residents, to give them the amenities that they deserve, are being used to pave the streets. That's dealing with the traffic issue. So I urge that at this point, I am going to oppose it. I know it's got flaws. There are parts of it I understand the issues it's trying to address, but as it's written, I cannot support it because it takes away the ability of this agency to do something that in the North County we do need. That's one. Number two is the idea of local control. Most people don't know that to be on OCTA, you're elected to be on OCTA based on districts. Here, for many cities like the Yorba Linda, we have to go through that election process. So we don't have a seat at OCTA. I believe this is the first time in the city's formation that we actually got elected onto OCTA, but we never had representation on OCTA as a city. But here at the TCA, each city here has representation. That's why you are able to have your voices to be heard as a city and letting the rest of us hear this. But for other cities that are elected onto OCTA board, where you don't have direct representation, you're really at the whim of you hope that your district rep will represent you. So I am concerned about any type of bills that take away any city's ability to represent its interests at the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Director O'Neill.
Very brief. Just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Kramer, for clarifying that it was in your personal capacity. I didn't read it that way, so I appreciate that being clarified. I do think this is different for the two boards, so I would just like to ask Mr. Munzig, since he was the one who made the motion, if he'd take a friendly amendment that if approved by the San Joaquin board, there would be a separate letter that came from the San Joaquin board, and it would simply say that at its board meeting, the San Joaquin board took a position of opposition.
Thank you, Director O'Neill.
I concur.
Director Voids, and then I
concur.
get back.
I will modify my motion.
Yeah, I'm in strong opposition to this for the fact that something is far closer to the time frame of where we are right now is the 241-91 connector, and the fact that the people that are coming from San Clemente, San Juan, Lake Forest, Rancho Santa Margarita, all affected immensely by the traffic overload merging onto the 91. And the fact that if we could get a 241 connector, I think that we're mitigating a huge amount of traffic that's flowing into the 91, backing up commuter traffic, people that are coming to Orange County to work, people that are going to Vegas or the river to go vacation. I think that we have to be a regional mobility thing. We hear all of those people from San Clemente that have spoken in opposition. We have not set a hard deadline on when or what we are going to finish up with our testing or the models that we have before us. But the fact is the 91, 241, something that's right before us, this would take away the local control of that connector. So I'm in strong opposition, and I see what the traffic's doing as people are mitigating it around the 241 connector, driving through the streets of Orange, Anaheim, Yorba Linda, and affecting those local cities. And so I'm in opposition of this. And so I'm strongly in favor of calling for the vote because we have time.
Chairman here.
Thank you. Director Wagner is recognized, then I'll get back to you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I approach this with a little bit of a conflict of sentiment, if nothing else. I will tell you, alone amongst the folks in this room, I've not only worked with Assemblymember Breaux, but had the privilege of serving with him up in the state legislature. I know what he is going through in bringing this bill. I know what it means to be an author of a bill, and sometimes, you're not the author. Ledge Council writes the bills. Stuff ends up in there that you may not like. Stuff ends up in there that you may not even know about until you actually get your own opportunity to dive into the bills. And I'm not saying that is what happens here. Stuff ends up in those bills that is there purposely to jettison as negotiations happen. And so I recognize that this is not a final product. And I recognize that Assemblymember Breaux is one of the most talented legislators in Sacramento that I had the privilege of working with. So I look forward to working with him and this agency working with him as we move through the process. I will say, though, it would be bizarre to me for this board not to take a position because it is so directly implicates what we do. I don't see a support position. The only thing left is an opposed position. No position is an abandonment of any interest in a significant piece of legislation that affects us. We have to oppose it because that gets us the seat at the table. If I were a legislator and didn't get an oppose or a support letter, I wouldn't care about the agency and its position because if it doesn't care enough to get involved in the discussion, why should I, as the author of the bill, care? So I'm going to support the motion, realizing, though, that the bill is, in fact, a work in process. I agree with very much that Director Marriott said. It is imperfect. I take the Assemblyman, obviously, at his word that the idea is to focus on planning. But we know this bill does much, much more than that. And to the extent there are amendments coming, to the extent that there is some further work to be done on it, we have to take an opposed position to be at the table. Finally, at the risk of piling on, as a former legislator, if I got that letter, I am not going to read it, oh, Mike Cramen has a position. That is it's on your letterhead. It's on our letterhead. That, to me, says this board has acted. And I'm appalled that a letter went in without this board acting, regardless of whether it is 100% factually correct or whether it is an issue that is debatable and arguable. I cannot fathom how an agency would get so out front of the board to the point where it tells the legislature, you're not just writing to Assemblyman Breaux, you're writing to every member of the committee who's going to look at that and say, these directors, these representatives of the cities and the agencies have looked at this bill and have weighed in on it. And that didn't happen. And it cannot happen in the future ever, please. I don't know whether the right thing to do is a letter saying we retract or to rescind and then write the correct letter in opposition. But I do believe an opposition position is required, and I hope something like this never happens again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Director Wagner. Chairwoman Christina Shea is recognized.
Yes, thank you, and I'll be very brief. Number one, I am in opposition to this bill. I know that I had spoken to Dr. Stephen Choi, who actually had been asked by Assemblyman Breaux to sign on to it. He signed on to it with false information. When he talked to him, he got clarification that in fact this wasn't to support the toll road, which he thought. It was to basically shut down our operations and the way we function. So I've been told that several of the signatories that were on the bill have now pulled their name from it, if I'm correct, and you can correct me. I am very troubled about the approach and not even really being brought into a discussion with them prior to this bill even going forward. Number one, I understand the conflicts we're having here. Number one, I understand the residents' concerns about future construction. That's a different issue than shutting down this complete operation, which we have 75,000 residents in our city that enjoy the toll roads and use them almost every day. So I have to support and defend this operation here, our business here, because if, again, as our staff said, that we did not have the toll roads, we would be having complete gridlock on all the freeways. And that's why the toll roads are very beneficial. I know that San Clemente doesn't see it that way, but the rest of Orange County does. And we have to balance out. Well, you can shake your head and get critical, but I have the floor. Thank you. And I understand the concerns about these consultant discussions, and we are going to be, and we have been moving in a direction to resolve these concerns. But at this point in time, I believe this bill would be devastating to this organization. I believe that our update from our staff is very clear that we are solvent. A lot of the comments that are made are just not accurate in regard to how we function in our financial status. So with that, I will be supporting in opposition to this, and I look forward to the remainder of the board members to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Shea. Director Bain, and then we're going to go to,
And me.
oh, Director Crane.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now,
Director
Very
Bain.
quickly, go ahead.
Oh, very quickly.
No, I just want to make sure that I second Director Beal's motion to oppose it for Foothill.
We haven't gone through the motion, but
No, it's-
so noted,
he
so
motioned,
noted. Thank you. Director Bain, final comments, and then.
So I'm gonna start with a substitute motion for San Joaquin, and that's that we take a third neutral position regarding this bill, which I think would be appropriate in light of Mr. Mueller's comments and Director Wagner and others who said they need to know more about the impact on other agencies. So taking either support or oppose, I understand. You're uncomfortable doing that, but we can take a neutral position, which I think is a realistic position. So I'll make that motion. And then I still want answers to my questions, but I've heard a lot about, local control, and I've heard about, this would be devastating to this agency. And I disagree, Chair Shea. This doesn't stop this agency from doing what it does, which is operate toll roads. It just stops new expenditures, new debt to do new projects. And as to San Joaquin, as I said earlier, 73 is done. It's been done for over a decade. If you want to widen it, then why is the TCA asking OCTA to take those traffic control measures of widening the 73 off the table? We've already made that request. So I'm wondering why we're now leaning on, we need to do this widening in the future. And the final comment, I spoke with Assemblyman Breaux today as well. Maybe our calls missed each other. Talked to him for about 30 minutes, and he was adamant about this being not a San Clemente specific bill, and I'd be happy to take credit for the bill. I didn't write it, unfortunately. I would have loved to have. But this is a bill about good governance. And a lot of us in this room are Republicans who stood on a platform of limited government, fiscal responsibility. That's what this bill at its core is about reining in this agency from spending money, increasing debt year over year without building anything. So when you look at it from that perspective, I think this bill makes a lot of sense, and I have utmost respect for Assemblyman Breaux. This wasn't a knee-jerk reaction to a problem. It was a thought-out bill. I think he gave us an eloquent solution. So with that motion, I'll yield the floor.
Thank you, Director Bain. With regard to your request for a substitute motion, you need to have a second before we are going to be voting on it. Anybody seconding that motion for San Joaquin Hills only? It dies. Okay, before we conclude our discussions, Mr. Mike Chesney, the podium is yours.
Oh, thank you, Director. I will warn Valerie McFall here to help me with some of the questions on CEQA and the TCMs, but a couple things that I'll attempt to clarify. Director, the 73 is not built out. We still do have capacity enhancements within the median. That's why the corridors were built with large medians so that we could add lanes as capacity warranted. And so we do have those projects that are listed for capacity enhancements in the future. This bill would prevent us from doing that. I believe the dirtier air comment, that was in reference to if our roads cannot build capacity and then we are congested, then we do damage to air quality in the region. And our roads, again, as I mentioned earlier, is a SCAG conformity measure where we are required to have free flow conditions. And again, without capacity enhancements, we can't guarantee free flow conditions. So I'll have Valerie come up and speak to the CEQA question.
And before I address the CEQA question, I'd like to address the TCMs that you've referred to a couple of times. all of the toll roads are identified as transportation control measures for the SCAG region, and that pertains to the South Coast Air Basin. So we're part of the Air Quality Management District's Air Quality Management Plan, as well as the California Air Resources Board plan to help the area, the South Coast Basin, reduce greenhouse gas emissions. With that, our project are designated the TCS because we have free flow traffic on our roadways that would otherwise be in congestion on the arterials and freeways. So our roadways are priced alternative to HOV lanes. Therefore, they qualify as TCMs. My letter to OCTA requesting that we move forward with a substitution is because our widening projects that will still be implemented will be implemented past 2020 because we have to go through additional environmental review. It will not meet the date for 2020. But in the closing of my letter, as you'll see, I have asked that we work with them to identify another substitute, which TCA right now staff is developing that. And as part of our FY20 budget, we are going to present it to the board to adopt as part of that, to go through the planning process and have a substitute project in the ground in operation by that date in which we've ensured that the region will stay in compliance with their greenhouse gas emission reduction targets. In regards to the CEQA, by this bill would preempt our agency from moving forward with identifying any solutions. So right now for the 241 extension, we are beginning to embark on the state and federal environmental process. We have not decided on which alternative would be identified by our agency or Caltrans. So by foreclosing that opportunity, you are foreclosing on CEQA to go through the environmental process to determine which alternative, if any alternative, is feasible to be built and selected by our agency and Caltrans, as well as any other projects on the toll road network. You would enable our agency to do any environmental review and additional capacity and projects on any of the toll roads.
Sorry, the final question I had was, how does it threaten the environmental settlement agreement?
Our agency, George, do you want to answer that? Want me to answer that? Okay.
So if this agency is taken out of its role for planning and it is the agency that entered into that agreement, that would reopen the opportunity for others to look at building solutions in the avoidance area, so which was the intent of the settlement agreement.
Which Caltrans is a party to, right? So they would still be a party to that agreement?
I'm not specific, but it would open to others. But right now, with us having that responsibility, we are committed as a party to that agreement.
Any other comments by any other board members?
Call the vote.
Very good. Chairwoman Christina Shea? We are set. We are set. Very good. At this juncture, we have a motion, we have an action, adopt an opposition position on AB 1273, County of Orange, joint exercise of powers agreement, toll roads. I start with San Joaquin Hills. Director Munzing has made a friendly amendment.
And I've modified per the request of Director O'Neill, correct.
Very good. So we have a motion on floor. Any second on it from San Joaquin Hills?
I'm sorry, I'd like to get some clarification on the friendly
Director
amendment,
Hebb?
please.
Please.
I'd just like to get some clarification on the friendly amendment, please, again.
Would you like to restate your friendly amendment, Director O'Neill?
There was simply that there would be a separate letter from the San Joaquin Board, and it would state very plainly that at our board meeting today, the San Joaquin Board took a position of opposition.
Second.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
What's
So
a
is-
separate letter from the board?
It was, the issue was, the only motion on the table was that it would be a position of opposition. The staff report requested that a letter be authorized as well. And so what I'm doing is clarifying what the letter would say.
Very good. It was moved and seconded. All in favor from San Joaquin, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition from San Joaquin Hills?
No.
No.
You are?
I'm both.
Both. Very good. So noted.
No.
Director Bain, no. Only 2 no's. Very good. Moving on to Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency. I had a motion from Director Beal,
I'll second.
and it was seconded by,
I'll second if you need one.
it was seconded by Director Crane.
Call for the vote.
All in favor from
Aye.
Foothill Eastern only?
Aye.
Any opposition from Foothill Eastern?
No.
No, Director Ferguson?
And Director.
And Director Marriott. Very good. Very good. Moving on to the next item. Item number 8. It's already 11:30.
Mr. Chair, I will begin this item.
Please.
At the request of the chairs, we're providing this update to discuss the results of our recent internal audit on invoice processing for our strategic research and stakeholder outreach consulting services contract K000983 and the steps that we have taken as a result of that audit. Before turning it over to our CFO, I would like to provide an update from my perspective as the CEO. Audits, internal and external, have always been an integral part of the agency's commitment to its fiduciary responsibility, transparency, and continuous improvements. In addition to our external audits that ensure our financial condition is properly reported in our annual financial statements, we also conduct a number of internal audits. The purpose of these internal audits is to identify and mitigate risk and facilitate process improvements through effective internal controls and efficient management of agency operations. The recent accounts payable audit was one of our planned fiscal year 19 internal audits and was scheduled to begin in early calendar 2019. During this time frame, we had received increased public interest in our stakeholder outreach contracts. So I asked our internal audit groups to prioritize those contracts in their review. Staff began the audit and brought to my attention that they had discovered clerical errors in some of the invoices. As a result of staff findings, I directed staff to increase their effort from a spot check to a 100% review of all invoices and to issue a separate internal audit report on this portion of the audit so that the errors could be addressed immediately rather than wait for the balance of the audit to be completed. The results of this audit were discussed with the Executive Committee and with the Contracts Committee. In addition, measures were put in place to address the errors, and the Executive Committee directed that an additional audit be undertaken. We have completed a procurement for an external independent third-party audit, and that audit is currently underway. I will now turn it over to our CFO, Amy Potter, to discuss the audits.
Thank you. CFO Amy Potter
All right, thank
is
you.
recognized.
So as mentioned by our CEO, TCA's Internal Audit Department recently conducted an audit of our accounts payable invoice processing, focusing on the outreach consulting contract that was mentioned. So internal audit reviewed, tested, and assessed all monthly invoices for the contract from the period December 2015 through January 2019. The audit was completed in February and a final report was issued. Although the controls, the internal controls and policies and procedures examined were generally adequate, some findings were noted, resulting in a net underbilling of $4,600. The contractor has submitted a corrected invoice for the net error, and TCA has implemented process improvements recommended in the audit report that I will outline further. So as part of our audit process, the overall objectives were to review and assess the policies and procedures related to invoice processing, the internal controls, and review the invoice line items for any billing irregularities. The audit methodology consisted of walkthroughs and inquiry of agency staff and contractor representatives. as well as review of procedures and testing of invoices. There were 3 findings noted in this review. So over the 3.5-year period and 11,000 plus line items, there were 13 duplicate entries that resulted in an overbilling of 8,336. There were also 425 billing rate errors that resulted in an underbilling of $12,935. In addition, 6 instances were noted that combined multiple individuals under one set of hours and multiple dates. However, there were no adjustments necessary related to this finding. So in response to this audit, there were some recommendations made and some actions that have been taken since that time. So the contractor, as I mentioned, submitted a corrected invoice. Other recommendations are being implemented to simplify the invoice for more efficient review. Any rate changes will be communicated timely to TCA and documented in a change order in accordance with TCA policy. And both TCA and the contractor have updated monthly invoice review procedures to ensure that a formal check of billing rates is included. In addition, as mentioned by our CEO, TCA has engaged an external independent third-party audit. The strategic research and stakeholder outreach phase that the contractor was engaged for has been completed, and the contract will expire June 30th, 2019. The next phase of the stakeholder outreach is per the formal environmental process as prescribed by CEQA and NEPA. The scope of work to be provided is specific support for that prescribed state of California and Caltrans mandated process. So now that the project has moved into this formal environmental phase, staff will be issuing a request for proposals for this next phase. And that concludes my report, and I would be happy to address questions.
Thank you, Director Wagner. With all due respect, I wanted to hear the public comments. We have 4 speakers on, I beg your pardon, we don't have any public comments on this. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. Again, as the new kid on the block, I just want clarification. Right before I joined this board, there was a somewhat horrific story in the LA Times about Venture Strategic and Mr. Corliss. Is that what we're talking about here?
That is the contract that we're discussing today, is the Venture Strategic contract.
Thank you very much.
Director Huang is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. As I think we mentioned last month, there was a ad hoc committee that was put together by the chairs for the purpose of looking at all the contracts and vendors to look at, what we should be going through in this process. So as the chair of the ad hoc committee, I wanted to report that we are in the process of reviewing the agency contracts and have already had 2 very long meetings. Thank you to all the committee members. In our last meeting on March 28th, we reviewed the strategic planning and legislative affairs contracts. We are reviewing the purpose and scope of those contracts to ensure that we don't have multiple contractors doing the same work. We're also looking at whether contracts should be built on a retainer basis or time and materials. We have also discussed the internal reviews that our CFO just presented, as well as actions moving forward, including the external third-party audit and an RFP for an outreach contract related to the formal environmental phase. The committee will continue to work through the review of the agency contracts and the progress of that external audit.
Chair, I have a quick question.
Director Stevens from the great city of Costa Mesa.
Thank you. So, Ms. Potter, what's the explanation for the $35,000 dinner?
I'm not familiar with.
So that would be a dinner where TCA, that was a sponsorship. So we sponsored the annual dinner for the Orange County Business Council.
All right, Chair Shea is recognized.
Yes, thank you. Amy, I want to thank you for your update, and our CEO. I know our executive committees had several meetings with you to bring us to this point that we are moving into the direction of an outside external detailed audit in regard to the contract K00-983. It's deserved based on the Times report, based on your internal report, and we believe that this is the proper thing for this agency to do. Could you give us clarification, when actually has our outside audit began, our external audit begun, and who have we hired to do that?
Yes, we conducted a procurement and selected the firm Hall & Company. They are a certified public accountant firm, and they just started this last week.
And what is the duration of the process?
I would expect it to proceed over the next month to be completed, so that they can complete their field work and then put together and issue a report.
Okay, we want to be assured that that comes back to the board for full review and discussions, so everybody is comfortable with those findings and to get any new findings that perhaps may come out of that outside audit. Again, just for clarification, our new executive board, along with some of our committees that have reviewed this, when it comes to moving forward in the next fiscal cycle, we will no longer be extending this communication contract. We're probably going to be saving about $1.5 million due to the refocus to really get into the structure of the CEQA NEPA process, and we will not be needing communications as the way our first phase was brought forward. And so I just want the public to understand that is going to be stopped by June 30th. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Shea. Vice Chair Connors.
I just wanted to follow up on Director Huang's report and to respond to a number of people who spoke today who asked that all of our meetings, and particularly our meetings regarding contracts, be open and subject to the Brown Act. And I have to tell you, this is a contradiction because the Brown Act, since 1953, specifically provides that meetings to discuss contracts should be in closed session. And the reason for that is the legislature struck a balance between confidentiality and transparency. And in the area of contracts, if this board or this committee is discussing a contract, we are talking about things like how much we might budget for this, whether we prefer that a contractor has in-house capability or subcontracts things out, what kind of connections are on this kind of consulting contract, what kind of connections they may have in the community or in Sacramento or whatever. And if a potential bidder were to be attending a meeting such as that, as if it were open to the public, it would give people unfair advantage in shaping their agencies, shaping their proposals to make the bidding process less fair. So according to the Brown Act, which we follow very carefully here in this agency, those meetings are not open to the public, and that's the reason.
Thank you. Director Bain is recognized.
Sorry, Chair Connors, just wanted to clarify that. So the ad hoc committees are not public because we're accepting bids and deciding about bids in those committees. Is that what you're telling me? Just want to make sure I understand what you said there.
No, I'm saying that the Brown Act provides that all discussions regarding contracts are to be not open to the public.
Okay. So I've been practicing law for 11 years, and that's the first I've ever heard of that exception to the Brown Act. In my experience, all public contracts should go through a public hearing process. And I guess I'm a little concerned about the audit because at the last meeting, we discussed as a board that we were going to bring an item back and discuss an audit. And so now I'm hearing that, I guess it was the ad hoc committee went ahead and selected an auditor and started an audit without the full board getting a chance to discuss this issue, which is my next item. So my theme of the day is going to be who is running the agency? Is it the board? Is it the ad hoc committees, or is it staff?
It wasn't the ad hoc committee that proposed that.
Then who proposed that, if I could get?
It's under the CEO's contract, and it's under his authority that he was able to do it with our discussion at the executive committee.
Okay, so, and again, I guess I go back to, we were going to be discussing that item today, and so now I was going to propose a state audit, but now we've already hired our own independent. So anyway, I'll back up. What is the scope of, so we're just looking at one contract. Was there a particular reason why we didn't look at Pringle and Associates and some of other PR contracts in addition to Venture Strategic?
Well, actually, in the scope does cover Kurt Pringle and Associates as well, because that was part of our internal audit. So we do actually have that, even though the focus of the audit is really on the other contract that we were discussing here today. So the scope, though, is to look at the internal controls, the policies and procedures, and do testing. And really, with regard to the policies and procedures, one of those relates to the management of the contract itself and how the technical representative would work with the contractor on a regular basis to look at assignments, direct assignments, and then come up with a budget, an appropriate budget, and then ensure that when the invoice comes through, that is represents the work that the technical representative understood it to be. So that is the scope of the audit.
And who conducted the internal audit? Did we have any CPAs that were involved in that? Was it just staff?
Well, internally we have CPAs. I'm a CPA.
Okay.
However, our internal audit department conducted the audit.
Okay. And then did we also look at then, for example, if any of the work that was billed by, for example, Venture Strategic should have fallen under the $21,000 lump sum contract for services that we had with them as well? Did we take a look at the scope of that contract to make sure they weren't billing hourly for items that should have fallen within their lump sum contract?
Are you referring to the two separate contracts or within the Venture
Sure.
Strategic?
There were two. My understanding is there was an hourly contract with Venture Strategic. Is that accurate? But then also a lump sum contract with Venture Strategic to do certain.
So different tasks within the contract.
Sure.
Yes, that was looked at.
We looked at that as well. Did we identify any of the billings internally for reviewing the news? Because I know there was some discrepancy internally. They weren't supposed to be billing for reviewing the news. Did we identify and flag those? Did we ask for payment back if they, to the extent that they were reviewing the news and billing the agency for that?
So that was not in our findings. However, once again, we're going to also rely on this external audit to take a look. So I don't really want to make any further conclusions. However, that was not our internal audit's conclusion.
Okay, and then the billing with Ms. Pringle, I think a speaker said earlier she had billed for 28 hours in a day. Was that flagged in our audit as well? And did we request
That
correction
was
to that?
correct. That was one of the 13 duplicates that I had mentioned.
Okay, can you explain to me just real quickly, last question, and I'll turn it over. How are these invoices generally reviewed monthly? Who reviews them? What is done to make sure there's quality control?
Yes, we have processes and procedures in place where there are multiple departments reviewing invoices. The accounts payable department has a role, the contracts department has a role, and then the technical representative overseeing the contract has a role. It's done, yes, when an invoice is received. So an invoice can be monthly or it could be as needed. Some of them might come in every 6 months, depending on what work is performed.
I think that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Director Bain. Director O'Neill is recognized.
Yep, real briefly. So actually piggybacking on the question from Director Wagner and Director Bain, the contract is directly with Venture, and then below them is Kurt Pringle and Associates. And so the duplicate billing issue somehow filtered up. Did we determine whether Ms. Pringle had accurately reflected her time and then it got double billed by Venture? Whose fault was the double billing, I should say?
I believe based on our audit that it was an error on the Venture side. However, like I said earlier, I would like to rely on this external audit to make a confirmation of that.
Yeah, well, clearly we need to hold Venture accountable on this one, and hopefully Venture has apologized to Ms. Pringle, given the way her name has been bantied around, if she indeed did this correctly and they did not.
Thank you, Director O'Neill. Director Voice is recognized.
Yeah, I think for the public's sake, the transparency and oversight, obviously we missed something in our internal oversight. So the fact that I think that this is a wake-up call to us, but I think that this external audit is needed, and I think it'll bring back a little bit of clarity and trust with the public. So I make a motion that we approve staff recommendation.
This is a no action item. It's presentation only. Director Wagner?
Two things. One, I want to second Director O'Neill. I think it was very unfortunate that Venture's inability to police itself or its willingness to submit erroneous material has damaged folks. And I mean, we've heard Ms. Pringle's name bandied about, and it is entirely inappropriate and unfair that she be the one blamed for this. Second of all, I guess I want to make sure that the RFP that we are sending out is clear that whoever is hired to replace Venture, and I guess Venture could submit, good luck to them, but they could submit on this RFP. But be that as it may, I would hope that the RFP specifies whoever we do hire has their own internal audit checks so that they don't do the same thing that Venture was responsible for doing. Then it's our responsibility to check them. But Buck has to stop with them as the first line of defense, and I hope the RFP will reflect that.
Thank you. I don't see any other director. Okay, Director Ferguson?
Thank you, Chair Miniger. If the external audit does find that Venture Strategics did make these mistakes and overbill grossly, will the TCA pursue obtaining a refund from them?
Well, the way it was determined from our audit is that they actually underbilled us, and so we asked them to resubmit an invoice. Now, if the outcome is something different than that, we would address it certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Director Marriott and then Director Beal.
Yeah, I was going to wait and comment on my colleague's item, but I'm not sure we'll hear that now, depending on where everybody lands on this. But I want to point out, in June, this board made a motion on all the consultant contracts after a long conversation where we discussed as well the dollars being spent because we could not do it in-house, do the work on in-house. And I expressed a concern that we have no mechanism to review them because they're not employees. Ultimately, the result of that was a motion to direct staff to work through committees, then through the full board, a detailed work plan with scope of work and deliverables, accountability. It's extremely disappointing that it takes crisis to get this organization, staff, board, collectively, to move on things. It's extremely, it's very, very frustrating. And it's, you know, quite honestly, it's a big part of the reason that I did not vote for Mike's contract extension. The stakes are high, the dollars are big, the community is in fact impacted, you know, have real people with real lives being impacted for going on 2 years now on some of the stuff we're spending money on. So it's just very, very disappointing. The theme, it keeps repeating itself. It takes a sense of urgency, it takes something hitting the fan before we really move on things, and it's disappointing.
Director Beal is recognized.
Just for a point, so I'm clear and everyone's clear. Could you go back to the slide where you summarize the findings of your internal audit? Okay. This agency, we build freeways. Hundreds of millions of dollars are involved. Tons of contracts. And our staff and this board and these boards, we review all of them, and the people submitting these bills, they're human. Mistakes are made. And when we talk about a crisis, crises are created intentionally sometimes for political reasons. Take a look at the amounts that we're talking about here. When we're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars, 13 duplicate errors, $8,336 total of overbilling. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then 425 billing rate errors. But those errors were for the TCA's benefit. They undercharged us. So when we talk about crises, I don't buy it. This agency is a great example of a government agency doing its job, trying to increase mobility for the entire region, working with hundreds of millions of dollars. This is what we're talking about. While every penny of government money is important, we get that. We found this in our internal audit. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Was this found before the LA Times article was published?
Yes, that is correct.
I would submit, none of us should be fooled into thinking that there is not an awful lot of politics being played when we talk about crises, and this is what we're talking about.
Chair, just to respond briefly. So
Bain.
just a quick matter of clarification, because I've reviewed the documents at issue. I would invite any board member to go take a look at the Venture Strategic invoices, look at them year over year with the same grammatical errors, the same misspellings, the same incomplete sentences that are there, and tell me that these documents have been reviewed month over month accurately. And in terms of, political purposes, I mean, the only thing I can say is, nobody has addressed the question for me as to whether we've been paying agencies, outside consultants to review news. Have we? Can anybody answer? Reviewing news stories to the tune of $230,000 at $185 an hour. If that's within the scope of our contract, then so be it, but we haven't identified that. And it took a LA Times article to bring that to our attention, and nobody here has denied it. They didn't deny it last time. Nobody's told me, no, that's actually incorrect. Am I hearing anyone say that that's incorrect?
I will be glad to tell you that you're incorrect and you're blowing it out of proportion as the way the LA Times did. We had a very detailed scope of work that the consultant followed. One of the functions of that scope of work is that they were acting as our public information officer, as a staff extension and a public information officer, which included a wealth of responsibilities. It included working with reporters, editors, to quite honestly get a lot of the incorrect information that was being published, so working with the editors to have a little tighter control on their parts in terms of what they publish. It's also looking at and developing the information that would go out to our board members in response to when that information is out there to provide the correct information. And so that is the work that was being done. And it was a very comprehensive scope of work that I would invite you to look at. I would be glad to sit down with you and go through the scope of work that they were doing. We have an external audit that's going to take an independent outside look at all of that. We established the value for the work that was being done in advance of the work being done. And while it was a $1.8 million contract, we spent $690,000. So we watched every penny as this work was being done. We worked daily and weekly with our consultants because this is a very fluid scope of work, and we gave it tight oversight on that. Yes, there were clerical errors in their invoice, including incomplete sentences and some billing rate errors, cut and paste errors in that, duplicate billings, which we caught with our oversight because we do have processes in place and we do take our oversight and fiduciary responsibility of the scarce resources we have and that we're working with very seriously. I think you'll see that as you go through the budget process, how we look very hard at how this agency can be very efficient and effective in the money it has. I will be glad to sit down with you and go through their scope of work and answer any questions you have, Director Bain.
Great, and I'd be happy to do that. And I sense that I've upset Mr. Kramer, and I apologize. And my goal here is not, let me just finish real quick. My goal here is not to upset any of the staff. I understand that there are issues, but we had a New York Times article, or excuse me, LA Times article with a direct quote from Nico Melendez and folks from Venture Strategic saying, yes, we were billing for reviewing the news. Now, if that doesn't concern us as an agency and we're not asking those questions and making sure that that wasn't the case and saying that was not in the scope of our contract, which I assume it wasn't, we need to be asking for that money back. So
thank you for your
And I would just like to clarify that I'm hopefully that the way I responded to your question reflects how seriously we take our responsibility.
Director Huang.
Thank you, Chair. I would echo what Director Beal had said. I'm glad he brought this slide up because I was actually chuckling along the way that we are actually arguing over underbilling. Usually we argue over overbilling. So I'm kind of wondering why we're having this long conversation over underbilling. First and foremost, because I think that's our job as directors to make sure that we fulfill our fiduciary duty. So we should be happy that it's $12,000 underbilling. Kind of now I'm kind of sad that we brought this up and they're going to correct that. That's one thing. The second thing is the fact that I was going to ask Mr. Kramer to let us know about the contract because it's really significant to understand that it was a $1.8 million contract and we actually spent almost $700,000. So that's a significant savings. Again, I caution us responding to newspaper articles, and I will say that from personal experience that I was working for a state agency that was responding to a OC Register article, and this happened over 15 years ago under Governor Davis's watch, and I cannot tell you how many unnecessary lawsuits that we got into in response to an article. So I hesitate moving this agency to do the same thing in response to an article. We all know how questions are phrased by reporters, and you brought up a really good point, Director Bain, about asking the follow-up question. I'm pretty sure the reporter didn't ask the follow-up question about, what is categorized as news, what is categorized as, marketing, whatever it is, because he had a story he wanted to write. So those questions weren't there. But for me, I probably would ask those questions. So I caution any of us to have a knee-jerk reaction. Rather, we should look at everything from what are we doing here? Being the chair of this committee for the committee on the contracts, we had a thorough discussion about things and we identify things that we need to improve. We will always have to improve because we're humans and we'll make mistakes. And having suffered from a technological disaster where my phone crashed in the middle of me using it, we'll have technology problems as well. And so we have to take those things into account. Where we do well, we should continue. Where we did poorly, let's fix it. But I think at the end of the day, in looking at all the contracts, and in particular this one, we came under budget. And I think we should commend our people for coming under budget. That's a significant savings. And I think that when it's not highlighted, it really actually damaged the work that we have done to ensure that this agency is in sound financial health. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Shea is recognized, and then Director Marriott.
And then me.
Yes, thank you. I just want to respond to Director Bain because I know the last meeting we had during comments at the very end of the meeting, it was an agenda item. You brought all these different items up, right? And I promised to put it on the agenda, which I've done. But we didn't have the opportunity to talk to you about what we'd already had moving forward in the process. When staff identified through this internal audit these discrepancies and these problems, they immediately brought it to our committee. Our committee board members reviewed it and were very concerned. And at that point, our executive team met with our CFO, CEO, and we said, this is very important. We need to go into an external audit. This couldn't have been discussed at our last meeting, so you had that update because of the fact it wasn't on the agenda, and we couldn't speak to your item that you were bringing forward, as you recall. So no one has been trying to hide this. We have been moving in a very positive direction. This is what we've done. I've worked on this agency off and on for 20 years. We are very good at oversight. Now, if there was these discrepancies, we don't look at the day-to-day billings. The board members don't do that. But when it came to our attention with this internal audit, we took immediate steps to move in the right direction, to even get the outside audit, the external audit. We felt that it was very important with this criticism from this article and good, real reasonable concerns that we wanted to deal with this immediately. So I just want you to know that no one was not dealing with this. We weren't talking about it. Many of the board members were moving in that direction, just for your update. Okay.
Thank you. Director Marriott.
Yeah, I just want to point out quickly, when I talk about crisis or sense of urgencies, it isn't overbillings or underbillings that are relatively minimal. It was performance. When we talked several months ago, that motion that we passed was part of reducing an outlay from 16 million to 5 million for consultants, because a number of us were questioning the effectiveness of their work to date, and we still didn't get the work that we asked for with the formal motion. So it's a broader issue, and I probably shouldn't have individualized it by commenting about our CEO in particular, somebody I've always admired and enjoyed personally. But so I apologize for that, Mike. But there is a frustration, and it's broader than just the numbers up on the screen at the moment.
Thank you. Director Kring is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know for a fact that Adam Emmerich, the writer of that LA Times article, spent a couple of hours with Venture Strategics finding out what this was all about. But why did he start to bring up this article in the first place? It was politically motivated, I believe, by the residents of San Clemente. They have been edging and antagonizing this board for 2 years at least. And actually, they hired a consultant, Englander, Nobby, and Allen, who actually tried to get this contract from TCA, did not get it. So San Clemente hired them, and they took money out of their reserves to pay his billing. So I do believe it was politically motivated. I do believe there is an agenda behind this. And you're basically talking about less than $5,000 if you take the underbilling and the overbilling and you subtract them. So I just think this whole thing has been an exercise in futility. It's like we're looking for a problem to find the solution, or we have whatever that thing is. It's late, and I just want to get this behind us. We'll see what the forensic outside auditors come up with, and I do believe that we have internal audits that have protected us over the years, and we spend an awful lot of money, and we're talking about $5,000. It really does not make sense, and the time that we have spent on this really doesn't make any sense either.
Thank you. Director Heft?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Agar. I just wanted to say that I'm piggybacking on what Chair Shea said earlier. I've been a director since March of this year, and March of last year, and I've learned a lot, and I've sat down and I've taken time to listen to different staff members and taken time out of my day. And I want to let everyone know that I'm not independently wealthy. I have a day job too, and I am a mom with kids as well. And I hear that a lot from public comment. And we are doing our best. We're trying to make sober judgments. We're trying to take all the information, under observation, and we're sacrificing a lot of time. And I probably should have said this earlier, but just to kind of piggyback on what Chair Shea said, we're trying to do our best here. And one thing I would ask the public is to give us the deference and give us the respect that we've given you. I've heard comments today like we're corrupt, we're scheming, we need to have a conscience. And I would ask that in meetings that follow, that you would give us the same respect, because we're trying to make good decisions. We're trying to get all the information. We're sitting here and we're spending lots of time, and that is something that I would appreciate, and I think all the other directors would as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Heft. Director Munzing?
Thank you, Chairman Agar. Not wealthy either, just saying no. But in the last, we're in real estate, I know. In the last meeting, I had asked for a specific idea between Venture Strategic and whether the 73 San Joaquin actually had a contract. And I think there's some more information that came out after the meeting. And if we could, because it's under my understanding that we're not deeply contracted with Venture Strategic.
That's correct. It's a Foothill Eastern only contract.
Okay, very good. I wanted clarity on that. Thank you.
All right, in the interest of time, CEO Mike Kramer, do you have any concluding statements, or we're set? There's no action needed on this item. We're not going to be voting on it. It was a presentation only. In the interest of time, let's move to the last item on the agenda, which is item number 9. This item was suggested by the two directors from the city of San Clemente. All right, we're going to open the public comments. The first one is the Honorable Deborah
Chair.
Lewis.
Mr. Chair,
Director Beal.
is there any kind of presentation from those that submitted this agenda item for the board? Or-
Director Bain and Director Ferguson. I do apologize before you start.
It's okay.
The Honorable Deborah Lewis from the great city of Dana Point.
You'd
Director
like
Ferguson?
some comments from me first regarding this item?
Well, I was expecting there be, in lieu of a staff report, because it isn't being submitted by our staff, those that
That
put
is
it on the
correct.
agenda, I thought they would tell the directors what it is they're seeking and why.
Okay, we could do that.
For the record, that is correct. That's my understanding. This item was brought up by the city of San Clemente's two directors serving the two TCAs. With that, Director Ferguson, the floor
Okay.
is yours.
Thank you. I'll share a little bit about our reason for bringing this forward. And that's been kind of discussed today, that we have no greater responsibility than ensuring that public funds are not wasted. The measures proposed in this report are common sense practices that we feel should have been adopted years ago, but we can change that going forward here at the TCA. And it's alarming that the inspector that performed the internal audit didn't find any problems, actually found so many underbillings with the consultant bills, whereas the city of San Clemente has proof through its public records requests that there's plenty of excess and erroneous billing that took place. For instance, the city of San Clemente believes there was no justification for spending nearly $1 million for 2 microsites and $200,000 for consultants to read the news. We believe this is a waste of taxpayer dollars, and as we move forward, we'd like to put an end to that. And I know CEO Cramen kind of clarified that that was for other duties other than reading the news and PIO responsibilities. I understand that does include reading the news and getting a pulse of what's going on in the community. While a review is underway of every contract, and the external audit will do that, we should suspend all consultant contracts at the current time. And since there was no oversight, we should examine why TCA staff failed to find the issues for the past few years. And finally, spending $2 million every year for consultants is wasteful. We must do an accounting of the TCA expenditures, and we can do it ourselves, or we can ask the state controller to do it. And we really should question why overbilling of services occurred and put measures in place to ensure it does not happen again. And I'd like to defer to Director Bain to share some more.
Director Bain?
And I think the discussion is on, the second and third pages as to why we're putting this on the agenda. We discussed it last time, obviously. Transparency and accountability, I think, are buzzwords that get thrown around a lot. Obviously, in any government forum, everybody runs on a platform of transparency, accountability. That's what we say. And I think at this point, we have a chance to actually follow through on that. And I guess I'm happy to hear that there's a third-party audit going, but I'm a little bit disappointed that the entire board wasn't included in that process, especially given, what we're here supposed to be talking about today. At the city of San Clemente, if there were business that had been discussed amongst 2 city council members and all of a sudden there's a decision that was made, I would be pretty upset about that, because I think that's something that all of us here should want to decide. I want to know what Hall & Company's qualifications are. I'm sure they're great. But balancing the cost of that versus sending it to the state controller's office, whose job it is to conduct an audit, I think there needs to be a lot more transparency in terms of the ad hoc committees that we have. I asked the question last time, was the ad hoc committee that was going to be reviewing this going to be open to the public and subject to the Brown Act? And the response that I got was, well, no, it's not. Either we need to stop doing the ad hoc committees and start doing all of this work in front of the entire board, or we need to make those committees subject to the Brown Act and publicly available. And I think you see that there's a lot of people here that are more than willing to come to these meetings and provide their comments. And we're moving forward with actions without any public comment whatsoever, without full board input. And I think that's wrong. And that's why we're proposing these transparency and accountability measures as part of this. Not just the audit, but how we conduct our business going forward, I think is incredibly important to maintain public accountability so that the public can be involved in this process, but also so that all of our board members know what's going on. I didn't know before the board meeting today that we'd even started an audit process. And that's concerning to me for a number of reasons, mainly because I suggested that we put it on the agenda for today. So that's why this item is here. We think that these are common sense measures. Revamping the framework for all these ad hoc committees so that they are open to the Brown Act, and taking the various measures that we've put in this item not only makes sense from a transparency standpoint, but I think any one of us would demand that of our own cities moving forward. The entire city council, the entire board be involved in these types of decisions. So, and finally, just one comment that was made before that I want to address. The insinuation that the city of San Clemente has control over the LA Times and that we're making a lot of hay out of this for no reasons is absolutely ridiculous. I don't throw hyperbole around a lot, but I can tell you that the city has zero control over what the LA Times published. Had I probably would have had them go a little bit further in terms of what those invoices said. But just to clarify, the invoices from Venture Strategic said very specifically that media review was happening. And we learned from the quote, the LA Times, that was for reading the news. So if that doesn't concern the rest of the board, so be it. But I think that is something we need to look at. If they are spending that much money on reading the news, and if their invoices, which I've reviewed, reflect that fact, that is way outside and far afield of the scope of their contract. So I'll turn it over to public comments.
Thank you for elaborating on the item that you and Director Ferguson put on the agenda. Before we proceed with the Honorable Deborah Lewis, I wanted to make sure that we are not in violation of the Brown Act. If there are more than two council members from any cities, then we can only accommodate two. I do recognize that you're from the great city of Dana Point. Director Mueller is from the city of Dana Point, and Director Rick Buser is also from the city of Dana Point. So I guess it's your call if you are interested.
Mr. Chair, in this particular instance, given the context here, the Brown Act does not prohibit this kind of attendance at a meeting of another agency.
Very good then. Let's proceed.
A quick question, Mr. Joseph. The only question is, if anything discussed here were to end up back in our chamber, would this constitute a serial meeting?
That sounds like a remote possibility, and unless you're actually attempting to attain some sort of consensus through that process, which I don't think is what's going on here.
I just want to make sure.
I think that's not a concern.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The floor is yours. Welcome to the TCA.
Thank you. I'm Deborah Lewis, Dana Point, and I speak here today as a private citizen. I believe transparency for the TCA is long overdue, and I support recommendations 2 and 3 before you. But I have some issues with recommendation 1. First, the catalyst for an investigation is the concern that TCA's payments to its chosen consultants constitutes a possible misappropriation of public money. So the TCA now choosing its own auditor will not lift that cloud of suspicion. On the contrary, TCA's refusal to acquiesce to Congressman Levin's call and request to the governor to exercise his authority and appoint an independent state auditor to conduct a truly independent investigation is only going to heighten suspicion. Second, we're not talking about an audit as were internal procedures or a forensic audit that looks at things like fraud or embezzlement. Those aren't the issues. Rather, we want to know, did the TCA misappropriate public money to enrich a select group of allies under the guise of consulting contracts and subcontracts? 2, did they mislead the public about its financial condition, its ability to repay outstanding debt without further refinancing, or its long-term solvency to repay $11.6 billion? And 3, did it pay political allies as private contractors who in turn financially support TCA-friendly organizations, electeds, candidates, and campaigns? Did it influence elections? Did they generally engage in activities that are not permissible to the TCA, which is a public entity and bypass regulations? We're not saying that happened. What we're saying is an outsider needs to have the credibility to determine that that did or did not happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Laura S.
I'm Laura, thank you. At last month's meeting, after much heated discussion, our council members called for a motion followed by a vote whether or not to emergency agendize and call for a third-party audit by the State Controller's Office and stop work on consultants. Both the San Juan and Foothill had a second, but other than that, it did not pass. Why, I wondered, when as the director of San Juan pointed out, at $30,000 a day in just 1 month, it would have saved us taxpayers $900,000. So when I got home, I did some digging why you board members would not vote in favor of taking a look at this very important matter immediately before things could be suddenly lost or shuffled, and stopping the consultant's work till it could be deemed that the TCA's affairs were in order. I found the answer looking at some of your campaign disclosure forms. These were some of the donors listed on your 460s. LSA Associates, Hewitt Zollers, Somas, Newsom LLP, Michael Baker International, HNTB Holdings, Lucy Dunn, Orange County Business Council, PAC, South Orange County Economic Coalition, PAC, and Venture Strategic. Some of the above are lobbyists, some are consultants or other companies the TCA hands contracts to. Some are toll road pushers, which one Mike Raymond even sits on its board. So that explains why a lot of you voted no to do the emergency agenda. Today you'll be asked to vote on this again, whether or not to support it. I hope you will remember how the TCA, without having built a toll road in 20 years, their debt has grown from about $2.9 billion in 1998 to over $6.4 billion in 2018. Please help be a part of the solution in ending this needless spending on consultants, lobbyists, galas, and the sponsorships and more, rather than helping to get them further in debt. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Honorable Kathy Ward. I don't see Councilmember Kathy Ward from the City of San Clemente. Last is Ms. Wendy Shore. If I butchered your last name, please let me know.
You did.
But I think that's my husband's last name. My last name is still my maiden name in my mind sometimes. Anyway, it's Shrove, Wendy Shrove.
Thank you.
And yes, I'm from San Clemente, and there's some familiar faces here on the panel, and some of you helped me in my run for school board back in 2016, and I appreciate that, and I still very much respect all your help. You're all politicians. This is politically motivated. Everything that you do is politically motivated. You were elected by your constituents to support them and to protect their tax dollars. What this information that you're looking at right now, I don't think that this came up because of a Los Angeles Times article. This agency, which started with a really good idea, Joint Powers Authority, public-private partnership, I want to see those continue. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for communities, but we've been getting really bad press lately. And San Diego Union Tribune, the Los Angeles Times, I mean, we're way outside of our county here. And I respect what you're doing here. And I don't want you to look bad, because I do think that your heart's in the right place. So my suggestion, and I really do encourage you, let them have it. Let them look at how, where your campaign donations are coming from. Let them look at who the vendors are for TCA. And if there are relationships there that are defensible, then get it out there in the public and get rid of this bad PR that we're having, so that you can get back to doing what this JPA was intended to do. That's what I would suggest that you do. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair.
Director Beal is recognized.
Thank you. I have a few questions for the directors from San Clemente that put this on the agenda. So I'm looking at your proposals here, and I just want to make sure I understand exactly what it is you're asking for. As I look at the very first proposal, are you actually suggesting that I'll read your words, to put out a request for qualifications and bids for a true third-party independent forensic audit of all TCA consultant contracts, including but not limited to contracts for outreach, lobbying, legal, etc. So every contract that the TCA has, you're proposing that they be audited? And while the forensic audit is being completed, item 2 says, suspend all current and future consulting contracts. Just suspend them, regardless of what the contracts provide. Okay? Plain meaning of the words, I just want to make sure that's really what you meant. Number 3, to suspend all staff, all TCA staff, suspend all staff responsible for overseeing consultant contracts. Is that with pay, without pay? I don't know what that means, though.
Suspend all staff responsible for overseeing contracts until the above forensic analysis is complete. Is there any ambiguity that you want me to address
Yes, do
specifically?
they get paid? Do they not get paid?
No, well, they're not going to be reviewing the contracts. That's the whole point. is
Do
to
they still have
suspend-
any activity?
Let me finish. Suspend them from reviewing the contracts. Correct.
That's not what it says. That's why I'm asking for clarification.
And I just provided it. Thank you.
All right. Number 5, direct staff to collect and present to the board an accounting of all political donations by a TCA consultant to a board member, as well as non-TCA consulting contracts awarded by a board member or their agency to a TCA consultant. So each elected official already has to file a 460 disclosing all their political donations. You're wanting our staff to go out and prepare a summary and present it?
If they want to do a summary, that's fine. Otherwise, they could collect the forms, present them. I know a lot of local agencies, public agencies have individual policies and practices that deal with political donations from consultants. If the board wants to consider that, I would certainly take a look at that as well.
Okay. I listened intently as the directors from San Clemente gave their opening remarks. I heard that these are described as common sense practices that should have been adopted long ago, and that all of us would demand these same types of proposals in our own cities. How many of these have already been adopted in the city of San Clemente?
You know, it's interesting you ask, because Director Ferguson and I are in the process of asking for and did ask for an update to our transparency ordinances to provide all of this information to the public.
So today, how
let me
many
finish,
have been?
please. We're in the process of doing that. So yes, we're updating that as well.
No, I'm not done. I'll simply say this. I supported the campaigns of our 2 newest directors from the city of San Clemente in their recent elections in November to get elected. Why? Because they spoke to me of a desire to change San Clemente's long-standing adversarial and counterproductive relationship with the Transportation Corridor Agency, to fundamentally change San Clemente's approach to the TCA, to play a positive, a constructive role in working with all the TCA member agencies to help improve the quality of life and safety for our residents, and achieve increased mobility for residents throughout Orange County. Of course, representing your constituents, of course, but to work in a positive, constructive, good faith framework. This agenda item is not at all what I was expecting. Not at all.
So
To me, I'm not done. This, to me, in my opinion, it's another obvious political assault on the TCA. It's an attempt by San Clemente to effectively put the TCA out of business. The breadth and scope of these recommendations are just so, again, in my opinion, so overreaching. In all my years of public service, I've never seen anything like it. I believe the recommendations, really, they're outrageous. I think they're insulting to the TCA staff and to the members of the board of directors sitting up here with you. It's offensive. I'd like to understand what the implication is when you want to go and scour 460s that are already of record for every elected official here. What are you trying to infer by whatever those would find? Why don't you turn to your fellow directors and say what it is you're trying to say about the integrity of the members of the TCA board, your colleagues here. What is it you hope to find there?
So there's no inference at all. It's for public, right? We have to provide the forms anyway. We all have to disclose as part of this process that information. They're public. Hyperbole aside, I'm not sure what you find offensive about providing public donations that are already provided to the public in a place to which they can find them. Is that offensive to you to provide that information to the public? Or is it just that you don't want to have to do that? I'm not sure what your question is.
You're missing my point. Each of us already does that. Those are matters of public record. And I think there's an implication that's being made, an inference, that somehow if any member of the TCA board has received any political donation from any contractor that may do business with this agency, that somehow they are bought and paid for. Just say it if that's what you think. I think it's highly offensive, and I reject it and find it terribly offensive.
So, and let me respond to that as a point of order. I'm sorry you find it offensive. It's not intended to be offensive. I would be subject to the same requirement as would Councilmember Ferguson. If the information is already being provided, I'm not sure what is so appalling or offensive about providing the information.
It's already a matter of public record. Every one of us, we file our 460s here and in our cities.
And providing that easily on the TCA website so the public can get access to that information easily, would that be offensive to you then?
Yes. Well, we do that at the City of San Clemente. Our city clerk posts our forms on the city website so people can see who have supported our campaigns, see if we have any conflicts, if we don't recuse ourselves at meetings. So it's all out there. I mean, we're not 100% transparent at San Clemente by any means. In fact, we have a long way to go, and we're getting pushback there. So as Director Bain said, that's one of our goals to get accomplished at the City of San Clemente. So I don't mean to offend you, Director Biel, and anyone else here. I think we just really want to be transparent and ask for the same, that's on the website here at the TCA for people to see. There have been consultants that have been long-term consultants here that have worked on some political campaigns with directors here that serve on the board. So we just want to be very open and transparent about that and accountable. And so that's what we're asking. And it was great to see that an external audit has already begun. That's great. I, like Director Bain, would have loved to have had input on that. So hopefully we can get some information on what that firm is about soon. But the purpose is really just to recommend steps to improve accountability and transparency and fiscal responsibility and not to offend. Thank you.
I'm sorry that you're having pushback in the City of San Clemente in your efforts to seek transparency. There is no such pushback here. Every one of the directors here files their 460s. They are readily available to everyone. And as I stated, I think there's a negative inference that was intentional, that anyone that may have taken any political donation from anyone that does business with the TCA is somehow compromised or bought and paid for. And I find that highly insulting to every one of your colleagues on the board of directors. And because I find the scope, the breadth of what is being proposed here, I'm going to urge every member of the TCA board to reject in its entirety this proposal.
Thank you, Director Huang.
I see where you're going. If it's for transparency's sake, I wholly support it. You can, but I always believe, you lead by acting first rather than making comments or implying some mischief going on. I would say, in my city, we already have a transparency ordinance where we don't take contributions from any of the city's contractors. It's already in our ordinance. Or we have open gov, so you can see all the revenues and expenditure. It's already there. So I always say, hey, do it in your city first before you ask everybody else. And so That is where my suggestion would be, if that's really what it's about. But my concern about this particular contract is what it's, number one, looking at suspending all the contracts. Here's the thing, this agency works as efficiently as it does because of the fact that everything is contracted out. We know that's the greatest savings. And so basically it begs the question that it is politically motivated for the purpose of shutting down an agency. Well, I can see that from San Clemente's point of view, that it's great for San Clemente, that's what they want. But there are other cities that it would be negatively impacted greatly. And that, to me, is rather a selfish point of view, which is kind of backs up with the idea of local representation. So I am here to tell you that this action would affect my city. If you take away this agency, I'll never get a chance to tell you how this will negatively affect my city. It will stop all the planning, everything that we wanted to do in our north part of the county because of one issue you have. All right, so that's one. Number two, I am very concerned about the fact that our legal counsels won't be able to represent this agency. Your city has at least 3 or 4 litigation thrown at this agency. And many of them have court hearings, filing deadlines coming up. So it begs the question, if this is connected to your litigation, that you're gonna cause us to be in default, failure to meet those court deadlines in order to get a default judgment against this agency so that you can tout it around. On top of that, we have other obligations. So many of them that have to go through our legal counsel, all that will stop. That will affect our ability to get additional fundings, whatever, money, work, all the way down to personnel issues if there, and I don't know any, but I'm saying that if there is a personnel issue and an attorney has to review that, it stops today. Statute of limitation does not stop because of the fact that this agency decided to suspend its contract. Statute of limitation continues. How will we be able to function as an agency? And so for those many reasons, in addition to what Director Beal brought up so eloquently, so I won't repeat that, other than I am very concerned about the fact that the reputation of the directors are being dragged through the mud in some ways. If you want transparency, here's the deal. San Clemente sent out PRA requests to everybody. If that's what you want, you can do it through PRA. You don't have to do it this way.
And Director Huang, just for the record, you on your day job, you're a Deputy State of California Attorney General.
I'm a Deputy Attorney General in the Criminal Law Division.
Thank you. Director Crank is recognized.
Thank you so much. San Clemente is crying for transparency, and that's fine. But it's very transparent that this is absolutely politically motivated. My city of Anaheim would be absolutely impacted by this. That 241 extension of 91 should have been done years ago. But we also have something called Levine Act. Levine Act says you cannot accept any donation over $250, and if you do, you have to recuse yourself from any vote that anybody, any contractor out there. So we know those laws. There's only one person who's given me a check, and it was for $250 because of that. I'm not going to recuse myself from voting for anything. The money is not worth it. Also, you talked about suspending all current and future contracts. You're putting those people out of work. Besides stopping the progress of the TCA, you're putting those people out of work. And you never really answered Director Beal's question about suspending all staff responsible for overseeing contracts. Are they just going to sit here? If that's all they do for their job, they're actually going to be out of work. And they can apply for unemployment insurance. It's another expense for the TCA. And when you talk about those people, you're actually impugning their integrity when you say that I'm suspending anybody that has their fingerprints on the contract, because we know that they're lying. We know that they're hiding the ball. You know that they're just not worth working here because they're probably all corrupt. Not to mention, has mentioned several times, you think we're all corrupt. If anybody wants to look at my 460s, go to the Anaheim website. I'm not going to have the TCA work overtime. Do we hire somebody else to do that, to pull all of our 460s so it can be on our website? Do the homework if you want to do it. If that's important to you, then look it up yourselves. This is so politically motivated, I cannot even believe how it's come to this point. And so I will absolutely be voting no on this. I think this has been another waste of time. It's all for the benefit of San Clemente, and it's not right. There are 34 cities in this county, and the 33 other cities are not going to kowtow to something that only pleases San Clemente. It is shameful how you've treated us, and that you've taken money out of your reserves to sue us. Again, shameful. You talk about people apologizing, you should be apologizing to us, and including you too.
Director Mike Munzing.
Yeah, I very much concur with all the comments that are being said. Now, I'm one of the very few up here, I think, that is not an attorney. And with just suspending all the contracts are contracts for a reason. It's because you put your name on the, you sign the dotted line. It's a contract. And what is the legal exposure to TCA for just willy-nilly suspending all of our contracts? It just seems asinine to me. And to tear everything down, it feels like TCA's version of the Green New Deal, where they want to tear everything down with no answer for how to rebuild it. And that it is absolutely politically motivated. I'm very disappointed that it came up like this. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Vice Chair Connors.
This is the second item we've discussed today, which attempts to hamstring this agency. And clearly, we all know that San Clemente opposes an extension of a toll road into your city, just as people always oppose expansions of airports or building homeless shelters in their community. We understand this, and certainly trying to shut down the agency is one way to take action on your opposition. But the fact that the two representatives from San Clemente would come to this agency and ask their fellow directors, can you hear me? And ask your fellow directors to vote to torpedo this agency. Can you hear me now? Okay, this just really amazes me. I can't imagine how you would expect us to vote to shut down all our operations. If we stop our toll collection contract, we are in violation of the agreement with our bondholders. If we suspend a contract for people answering the telephone for people who call in, we have suspended that contract without any cause and exposed ourselves to legal and financial liability. I can't imagine that that's what you want us to do, but maybe it is. If we suspend our employees without cause, we are opening ourselves up to civil service liability and wrongful and labor litigation. I agree that it's not reasonable to request the TCA staff to collect information regarding donations, or even more so, to collect information regarding all the other people, all the other agencies that all the boards we sit on contract with. I bet among us, we probably sit on 50 or 100 different boards in this state. And all of them are contracting with all kinds of people. And I've seen a lot of drawings, including one today, that purports to show a lot of interactions. But that's not the job of the TCA to collect. And finally, I share the sense of insult regarding the information you've requested on financial data. Someone just got up and talked about the people who have donated to people's campaigns, but I'll tell you, none of those people donated to me. And I do not appreciate an inference that my vote to award a contract has been purchased. So I am going to oppose this entire thing.
Thank you, Director Chafee.
Yes, thank you. I heard Director Beal make a suggestion that this be entirely rejected on behalf of, I assume, the Foothill Eastern. If that was a motion, I'd like to second it.
Thank you. We haven't got through the motion yet, but well taken. Chair Christina Shea.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate Director Chafee's comment. Just briefly, I think it's difficult to even understand why we declare all these contractors guilty when we haven't proved anything. I mean, that's not even the country we live in, and you're a Republican, and I don't know how you even stand to ask us to do that. You're basically asking us to suspend every contract we have, which again will create lawsuits, people out of work, and we are definitively declaring them guilty before we've even tried them. Being an attorney, you said, for 12 years, I don't even see how you can, Director Bain, even go to that kind of ridiculous suggestion. The audit, we were in the process moving forward. You brought it forward a month ago. We were in the process to going this external audit. I would assume, and I appreciate Director Ferguson thanked us. We're trying to do the right thing, but you are mad because we are not doing what you wanted to do at the time you wanted to do it. And that's just not okay. We're trying to do the right thing. And having this external audit move forward is the right thing for us to do. I would wish that you might applaud one thing we do here and try to do it correctly. We're just trying to get to the bottom of these concerns that were brought forward by the LA Times, and we appreciate their effort. We think that that does create a concern. It did create concern for the board, and I support looking into this more as we are doing, and we're moving in that process. The issue of campaign donations, anyone can go on my city website. I was set back a bit by the gal that got up here and declared basically many of us are taking donations. I don't think I've received any donations from any of the list that was brought forward. I can relook at that. You can go to my website at the City of Irvine and please check it out and see if I am taking any money, but I don't believe I've ever gotten $1 from any consultant that we have hired here at the at this agency. But even if we did, and others have, the point is we follow the law. The FPPC structures the law. We have to follow the Levine Act, and there's reasons for it. The state law does not say you can't take money from anybody. Otherwise, you know, it'd be very difficult to even get elected because most of us, as myself, I'm not wealthy, and so we need help from donations. So again, I am somewhat offended. I understand some of these points. I support some of these points, but generally speaking, I think it is very politically motivated. I know that you have a bus brought all these people up here today. It just never ends, right? And it's very frustrating. We're trying to do our best. At least I am.
Thank you. Director Wagner.
Thank you. I will be brief on this. I begin by saying I'm going to oppose the measure. I do believe it's overbroad. The item we took care of before, dealing with the audit, let's see what it says, and then see what, as a board, with our considered judgment and that data, can and should do about what the audit turns up. We right now are rushing to a solution without the total scope of the problem necessarily being known. I don't know whether it's politically motivated. I do not represent San Clemente now. I have not for quite some time. I was privileged to a little while ago, but you know, I'm not going to get into that or motives of any of the directors. I'm just going to say I do think we are perhaps dealing with a solution to which the problem and scope of it we haven't quite entirely fleshed out. I do think that it is a bit of an overreach as currently written, and so for that reason, I do intend to oppose it. I do want to, however, make sure that I am clear personally, and I'm speaking only for myself. Welcome. I don't care if you bust people up here. I took an oath at the beginning of this meeting to the Constitution, and the First Amendment talks about petitioning government for the right to petition government for redress of grievances. So
it is our duty to hear you and to then act in accord with what we believe is in the best interest of the people we intend to serve after hearing from the public. So I'll entertain, or I'll express just a bit of a disagreement on the folks that are objecting. Hey, I brought a busload to the Board of Supervisors once up from Irvine when it was important to do so.
Right, but we
And,
didn't pay for it. It was
we're-
privately paid for, as you remember,
and,
right?
and theirs is privately paid for
But
as
it
well.
was successful.
So,
And it was for the homeless shelter.
appreciate the participation. Thank you.
Director Voice is recognized.
Yeah, I welcomed both of our new members from San Clemente, and I welcome the people to come and advocate for their city and their way of life. So I'm saying that I'm on as a board that's for regional mobility, and right now I think there's something that's far closer to my helm is the 24191 connector. I think that we still have a lot of information to take and input from what's going on in South County to help regional mobility. But we have an arterial, the 5 freeway goes through our county, and that's being impacted by traffic on the weekends, on the afternoons, in the early morning, and that affects the state of California. I'm in a city that is a beneficiary of the 241. You know, you talk about location, location, location. You want easy in, easy out. We don't want to ruin the atmosphere or the lifestyle of those in San Clemente, but this seems to be a poison pill for us. I think that I support the outside audit. I support good governance, and I'll be available to talk to any of you anytime, because in fact I think that you do have a valid concern. But the fact is, we are not out here to ruin your way of life, and so I think this poison pill. I want to make a motion that we reject these. I think it's overreaching.
It was already, I beg your pardon, it was already
Okay,
suggested.
then I think this is taking a sledgehammer to try to put a wall tack in, and I think that is just going to do harm to our agency and what good that we can do. And I think that there are those of you in the audience and those that are from San Clemente that think that we do need alternatives to the 5 freeway. You guys feel the impact of that traffic probably more than most of us, because I can get off way before the traffic actually starts in South County. So I'm here to better life in Orange County, better life for the state of California. And so I'm a no vote on this, but thank you.
Director Bain, and then Director Mario, and then Director Hebb.
Sure. So, and I'll make this look. So the folks that have expressed, being offended, I apologize. That was not the intent of this motion. In fact, Director Ferguson and I discussed this extensively about transparency. We wouldn't ask any of you to do anything that we haven't done in our own city. That's what we're asking folks to do today. But let me just cut to the chase. I've heard a lot of discussion, a lot of hyperbole from different folks, but I haven't heard anyone object to any of the items we've suggested other than 2, 3, and 5. So I'll make a motion on behalf of San Joaquin that we move to approve items 1, 4, 6, 7, and 8. Excuse me, I'm finish my motion because there was a motion.
We are not getting to the motion.
You've already made a motion for Foothill. I'm making a motion for San Joaquin.
We have not moved yet. We wanted to hear the final comments by our colleagues,
Well,
and then we are going to.
Just a point of order.
Point of order.
Point
I
of
made
order.
a motion.
There's been 2 motions made.
No, there was a second by Chafee, but there was never any motion made. So I will say, okay. All right, then we are at the motions.
Restate the motions after.
Sure.
All right.
So I'm going to
Please
make
proceed.
that's my motion, and so we will extricate items 2, 3, and 5 from our recommendation. Nobody's expressed any concern or, grave, concern about having an audit. Nobody's expressed any concern. Let me just finish really quick. Any concern about if the audit finds anything wrong that we request remediation correction to those contracts. Nobody expressed any concern about having a contracts and procurement services policies and procedures manual. Excuse me, I'm sorry, 6 as well. I'll extricate that as well. So it would just be, my motion would be as to 1, 4, 7, and 8. About having the ad hoc committees be subject to the Brown Act.
No.
And the best practices regarding the board meetings be open and subject to the Brown Act. So with those items, and I'll just say this as well. My job is to advocate, not just as a representative of San Clemente, but as a member of the board. I believe in these measures. I believe that they're appropriate based on what's come to light in terms of not just the contracts with Venture Strategic or Kurt Pringle and Associates, but just in general. We don't have the numbers up here, but there's a board out there. The amount of money we've spent in the last 2 to 3 years is well in excess of $16 million. And we haven't done anything. We haven't accomplished anything at this point. $16 million. In the several years before that, $2 million was spent. So to say that, we're way out of left field and asking for these measures, I think is, it's a little bit disingenuous, but, I'm not going to apologize for representing my city. I will apologize to the extent that folks are upset. Neither Director Ferguson or myself have ever mentioned corruption. We've never said that any of you are doing things inappropriate. Not a single comment in that regard. And we haven't asked any of you to be a part of anything that we ourselves would not be a part of in terms of disclosures. So to the extent that I offended folks, I apologize for that, but I think the other measures are appropriate. And with that amendment, I think that San Joaquin should approve this measure.
All right, before we proceed, Director Heft and Director Marriott.
All right,
Was
thank
there a
you.
second to that motion?
No, oh, he has, I don't think it's been finalized yet.
It hasn't
Are
been
we able to
finalized.
discuss it?
After your comments, Director Marriott, Director Kring, and Director Munzing, then we're going to finalize it. It's already 1 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Chairman Agar. I wanted to say that I wanted to say one thing. As far as Hall, this company has been mentioned as a possibility of the company that would do the external audit. I don't know that much about that company. I'm just hearing this for the first time now, and I think I would like to direct staff to find out a little bit more about who this company is. And we do want to be a transparent agency. We do want to make sure that we're looking at everything with a fine-tooth comb as well. And so before we would choose as a board the group of people that would be doing the external audit, I would want to make sure that we know all about them and that we have all our options open to us. That's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say was, with regard to number 7 on this recommendation, I guess I'm not an attorney, full disclosure, but I see sort of a conflict of interest in that we as the TCA are being sued by the city of San Clemente, and Director Bain, I believe, is part of that group that is an attorney for that, and correct me if I'm wrong. And if we are looking to defend ourselves and do it in the right way possible, I think if you had all these meetings open, then that would be obviously very disadvantageous, and it wouldn't be on a fair, open playing ground.
So point of personal order, since you referenced me, no, we're talking about ad hoc meetings. Closed sessions would still be closed sessions pertaining to litigation items.
Okay, so anything that would have to do with strategy or anything would be closed. All right.
Very good. Director Kring and then Director Marriott.
No, he's first.
Okay, please.
I defer to you.
I'm just having fun with you. Your yeoman's work today. Hey, I don't know who might have missed it, but today, so far in the last 2 hours, no less than three directors, with Director Shea to be the last, have indicated that they're dirt poor. And so I just want to say that I'm disappointed.
I never said I was dirt poor.
None of us are. I'm just disappointed that none of us are wealthy. I was hoping we had some wealthy member up here. So
isn't that you, Brian?
Anyhow, this is distressing at some level. So I think there's a couple of things going on. There's a little bit of piling on going on. I think my colleagues from San Clemente, it's hard for them not to reflect the emotions and the sense of panic that their residents have been feeling now for 2 years, and maybe beyond if you acknowledge the environmental piece of the 20-year battle. But so I think some of that is natural. it's just be forgiven, assumed, and accepted as a byproduct of representing these people that they're living next to and talking with every day. There's tremendous anxiety in that city. I'm sorry, this will get some rolled eyes, but 14 should have come off the map 18 months ago, Mike, as we talked about. This is why. This is why. We're seeing right now why. We're not going to spend $2 billion to shove a road through a community, a freeway through a community for 5% traffic relief and fight another 10 or 15 years to do it. It's just not. So I won't stray off topic, but this is what it's playing out now as predicted. So the item is written is pretty broad, I would say to my colleagues, in just walking through it. But I think each item points out something that's deficient in our broader process and our management oversight, which we're all, board members and staff, responsible, whether we've been on the board 1 month or 20 years. So item number 1, direct staff to open a request for qualifications and bids for a true third party. So we all knew the anxiety about this. We were all indicted by the LA Times article, okay? And somebody didn't reach out to Director Bain and tell him that it was being worked on in an ad hoc. So there's the temptation to think of ad hocs and the work that gets done in ad hoc as happening behind closed doors. It can tend to feel that way and take you by surprise. And so there's a temptation to think there's a deficiency somewhere in that process, the way the real work is getting done. Suspending all current and future consulting contracts until the forensic audit is complete. It is pretty broad. I think the intent is those related to lobbying, legal counsel, marketing, and engineering, but engineering can here and there impact ongoing operations. So that could get tricky. Suspending all staff, I don't know that any of us are clear on who that would represent, because we're not clear, because in part my request in our motion wasn't worked on, which is to get us explanation of this. So the $16 million we've spent, if we're asked to spend another $16 million, we can understand how we're supposed to hold the parties accountable for not just the integrity of their billing, but their effectiveness. And I have a question on 2, but I'll come back to it. The audit finding any misappropriation. I think good business that would, if something was found to be inappropriate, I think we'd probably deal with it at that point. I don't think anybody would overlook it. The inclusion of that item implies that something perhaps has gone on, which is to accept the LA Times version of things at face value, which we don't know that we can do. Item 5 is where it starts to stray into a political area, undeniably. I understand the impulse on it, and I understand how it's come to be, but it just feels like it should be its own item for discussion and consideration as to whether or not our agency, given the size and the scope, the ability to take people's land, the money that we spend, and the money we have available to us now with the cheaper interest rate, cheaper financing, and rising revenue, do we have the right policy with regard to transparency and donations and recusal and so forth? Do we even have it in print, et cetera, stuff like that? Maybe it should be looked at, but to wrap it in here feels a little bit accusatory, whether it's meant to or not. The item 6, it seems like it should be in that same realm as a separate conversation, a separate item for discussion as to whether or not we should have something included in the manual. Item 7 might just cause me to vote against it at the moment, because there's a lot of things in my city that I think sometimes we can't be as effective getting done because of some overinterpretations of the Brown Act, despite its good intent. So I looking at the scope of what we try to get done as an agency and deal with, I don't want to see it abused, and I'm not saying it was abused 3 weeks ago, but it wasn't used in a way that I favor, okay? Because we're all worked up about the press's attention to this and the dollars involved and so forth. And the question I have, and then I'll wrap, is what is the status of item 3 or 2? Where do we stand with regard to Corliss and Venture Strategic and the larger contracts on a cumulative basis, what, if anything, has changed post the press and some of the discussion about it in the board meeting a month ago? Are they still operating at the same level with the same payouts and the same? Has there been, there's some rumors out there. What's the exact status of their contracts and their situation right now?
So I can address that. So the scope of work for the venture contract was basically a scope of work that led up to the agency starting the formal environmental review process under CEQA and NEPA, where we fall directly under Caltrans as the lead agency for that, following their processes and procedures. So that contract scope of work finishes with that transition. So we will be issuing a new RFP for the next phase of work for any of those public outreach efforts that we need as part of the process that we're in now, with Caltrans as the lead following their processes as we go into that. So the work is essentially done. There's some transitional tasks. There are some activity there, but not at any great level, if you will.
But the working relationship with all the underlying entities, the rough prorated billings, it's all the same over the last 30 days than it was the previous 90 days? Has there been any change in the contracting picture with them? I'm not talking about the work that's getting done. What I'm saying is with the entities.
Yeah, I think probably for a number of months, we've been spending quite a bit less under that contract. Yeah.
So we're not in any kind of semi-suspended state with them. We're evaluating, and right now the billings are low because that happens to be the workflow issue, that the billings are low.
There's some of the tasks that were closed out. I think tasks 1 and 2. So some of the tasks have been closed out, and the rest of it is really basically winding down, and has been for some time as we move into the next phase of work.
Okay. So it's a natural pause.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't want to add to the confusion, but I would move, colleagues, that you table this for the moment and maybe revisit with a little tighter language. I see no point in an 18-2 vote today. I mean, we're piling on now. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. I feel equally about Yorba Linda and Mission Viejo as I do about San Clemente and San Juan Capistrano. We're all in this together. There's no need to pile on. It's not going to pass as written. I would move that we table it if you'd be.
All right. Two final.
Madam, Mr. Chair, motion to table, I believe, is a non-debatable, and it's been moved and seconded.
I will make the motion to not table it because
You don't get that, Mr. Chairman, you don't get that chance. A motion to table is not debatable. It has been moved and seconded, is appropriately before us.
Our legal counsel?
You can, because we just had this last week. You can make a motion after that to untable it. That's not the right language.
Mr. Joseph.
You can make a substitute motion. You're not able to debate the motion that is currently
Okay,
been
I will,
made, but you
I
can
will make a substitute motion to not table this. We've spent 2 hours on it already. Second.
All right. Director Kring is from Foothill Eastern.
Mr. Chairman, we need a vote now on the motion not to table.
Right.
That's correct.
All right. Let's proceed with this motion. That's for Foothill Eastern.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I said not to table it, and Christina seconded it.
All right. It was moved by Director Kring. It was seconded by what? By Chairwoman Christina Shea. All in favor from Foothill Eastern?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposing?
No.
Okay, no by Director,
Do we have a show of hands, because that,
no by Director Ferguson, Director Wagner,
I'm sorry, I got confused. This is not to table it.
not to table that, to make an action right now.
Spend 2 hours. I want to table it. Table's just going to continue this.
All right, so Director Ferguson, yes?
No, no.
No?
May I be clear? If you are voting no, you are voting to bring the tabling motion back. So if you want to table this, you vote no on this motion, is my understanding.
Correct.
Oh, so we want to vote yes.
Yes, we want to vote yes.
You may.
Okay, so it's
I
my
know,
motion.
but I
All-
disagree with you.
All those who wish not to table it, please raise your hands.
Foothill Eastern only. Madam Clerk? All right, it was approved.
I move to reject the proposal in its entirety on behalf of Foothill Eastern.
And second, but I have a comment though, because I was next. Very fast, very fast. I'll talk fast. Too much coffee. Anyway, yes, I vote to do it all in its entirety. I don't think bringing this back with tighter language is going to serve anybody's purpose. And matter of fact, Director Bain, number 4, if anything is misappropriated, sure, they should get the money back, but pursuing civil and criminal, I mean, some people make mistakes. If it's fraud or deceit or intentional, fine. But to put that in here now, I think is inappropriate. And we already had Director Connors talk about 7. You cannot have our ad hoc committees be open to the public. And 8 is already being done. So I don't understand why 8 is even in here. So
Mr. Chair, I'm going to second.
No, I already did.
No,
Okay, and then I call
would
for a vote.
like the privilege of doing the second of Director Beal's motion.
You did it a while ago.
All right. It was
Let's vote.
by Director Beal, it was seconded by Supervisor Chafee.
Thank you.
All in
Point of clarification, the motion is exactly what?
Reject
To
the whole
reject
thing.
its entirety.
So this
all
is
the
the,
8
so this
items
is the
on
language of the
agenda.
motion, to reject it in its entirety.
All the 8 items.
Correct.
But Foothill
That's
Foothill
productive.
Eastern, please,
Just a,
all the 8 items to reject them.
just a point of clarification. The very first item is for the independent audit. We are already in process of that.
Right.
That is
No,
correct.
number 1 refers to an audit of every contract that the TCA has.
So I just want to make sure that the independent contract or audit that's going on now will continue.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They are
Of course.
going to
All right,
be
I want to make sure that
auditing,
we're not.
if
well,
I may,
With this, we may be saying no. We would say
No,
No,
no.
that's completely
Okay, I just want to make sure that.
if I make a
audit continues.
clarification, at this juncture, all the contracts for communications and public relations are being audited by a third party who's gonna be independent and objective to report back to all of us.
Mr. Chair, I got a lunch. I call for the vote, please.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay, Foothill
Okay,
Eastern.
Foothill Eastern,
Aye.
all in
Aye.
favor? Any noes?
No.
No by Director Marriott. Director Ferguson? That's it.
He's on, so-
Okay. Very good. Now let's move on to San Joaquin Hills Transportation Corridor Agency.
Move to table indefinitely.
table, we're not, table, reject.
This is for San Joaquin, and I am moving to table.
Oh, you want to table it?
I'll
All right.
second.
Do we have a second to table all the 8 items? It was seconded by Director Bain from San Clemente.
I propose a substitute motion that we take it off the table and allow an up or down vote.
I'll second that.
I'll second.
All right. It was moved by Vice Chair Connors and it was seconded by Director Heft. All in favor to reject all the 8 items?
No, the table, untable.
Or to table it?
Untable.
Or not to table it? I beg your
To
pardon.
take it off, to take it off the table.
All those.
Point of order, point of order. Were you doing this with no discussion? Because that's about the snarkiest mix of motions I've ever seen. I mean, what is the
just
point
did
of
it.
this? No, you're taking an up and down vote. You're not voting. The last one was to reject every item. This,
No, that's not, they asked for a tabling of the
right?
item.
And why aren't we allowing that?
Okay, is the
Somebody
vote
had
to
a
table?
substitute motion.
Okay. Director Mike Munzer.
I was just going to say, you're in control, so control the meeting.
Hence the clarification. Hence the clarification. Thank you.
Okay,
Director O'Neill?
Yeah, but look, let me just clarify the motion and why I'm making the motion. The reason I'm making the motion is because frankly, I'm persuaded by Director Marriott's point, which is that at the moment, there's, if we table it, it's gone. if we are making an up and down motion on this, we're taking a position on a lot of these things, and good points have been made today that this hasn't been fully vetted, hasn't been fully thought out. There's no reason to completely reject some of these ideas. There are great reasons to reject a lot of them. But the truth of the matter is, there's no reason for us to take a position on any of these at the moment if we can just table these. And someday, when the audit comes back, we can have a discussion. But at the moment, having an up or down vote, I completely understood what Director Wagner was trying to do. I agree with him. That's why I've made the motion to table, and it's a little bit more appropriate right now, given what all of the discussion we've had. And I'd rather for San Joaquin see a motion to table this indefinitely.
Vice Chair Connors from San Joaquin Hills.
I have a procedural question. If we reject this proposal in its entirety, is there any impediment to any director bringing back certain items and elements of it in a manner that is more narrowly crafted or more likely to gain a majority at any time in the future?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Make your substitute motion.
I did. I'll stick with my substitute motion.
All right, let's
call
go
the
for the vote. All in favor from San Joaquin Hills?
Of,
To
state
table.
it, state it.
Untabling.
Not tabling it.
Okay,
Untable.
to
Untabling.
untable. No, it's not on the table, it's not table. Or not.
Not on the table.
Don't, right, bingo.
You vote yes, you don't want to table.
Yeah.
Yes to this vote now, correct? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Not to table.
right.
San Joaquin, it was,
Aye, aye. So,
all right,
4-5-5.
I vote yes, the same. No by Director Wagner and Director Marriott, Director Vixorek and Director Bain and Director O'Neill. No, they're from San Joaquin. I'm from San Joaquin. Okay, let's redo it. To taking off the table. Mr. Chairman, no. A vote to untable is a motion to defeat Director O'Neill's motion to table. If you want to kill it forever or
I was gonna make
do
that,
what we did with Foothill, then you vote you vote no on
no. I would make a substitute motion to duplicate Director Beal's vote to kill it in its entirety. That way we're not wavering on
Can
this.
we turn to our attorney? I know you get paid good dollars per hour, so will you tell us, as we did before, it would be a yes vote?
The motion, up until just a moment ago,
Yeah.
the motion that was made was not to table it. In other words, a motion, if carried, would require a yes or no vote
Exactly,
after that motion is passed.
just like we did the last one. Okay, so it'd
Correct.
be a yes vote to not allow this to be tabled.
But point of order, can I substitute with let's just bypass all this and just kill it in its entirety as Director Beal did? Is that a acceptable substitute motion?
I believe you can do a
I'll
second
accept that as a
substitute
friendly
motion. Yes.
amendment.
Okay,
Okay.
it
Great.
was a second for the friendly amendment by Director Munzing. All in favor of the substitute motion? We're making the final vote.
Can you just state the motion? Just
To vote against all the 8 items that are
to
tabulated.
reject each of the eight items.
Exactly.
Which all can come back later. but-
And just to make sure I'm clear, if we were to look at bringing any one of these back as it's been vetted better, that is an option we still do have.
I believe so.
Yes, that's correct.
So all in favor, San Joaquin Hills only. With the friendly motion, substitute motion by Director Munzing to table.
No.
To reject all eight,
items.
to reject all 8 items
In its entirety with
in its entirety.
Do we have a second for that?
It was seconded by
Yeah, Cynthia Connors,
Okay.
Director Connors.
Vice Chair Connors. So all in favor of that?
Aye. Raise your hands.
And those in opposition?
No.
No. Director Marriott? Supervisor Wagner? Director Vixorek and Director Bain and Director O'Neill?
5-4?
What is it?
6-5.
6-5?
6-5.
4 against. It passed?
To-
Yes.
to reject it.
To reject it, okay, that's what I thought.
Very good. 120.
Well, that was fun.
All right, since we don't
Yeah,
have any
I
other
like
public
this,
comments,
Supervisor.
we're gonna move on to the CEO report.
I was like, it's getting too confusing.
Too bad we didn't have.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am going to be brief with this.
Make my comment.
I wanted to state my reasonings for sending the letter, and I didn't feel that was appropriate while you were debating the item, but the legislative platform that was approved by this board states TCA will oppose legislative efforts to stop or hinder planning efforts that address the current and future transportation challenges in the region. TCA will monitor and engage on any statutory actions that include, and I won't read all of them, but the important bullet under that is impacts on the agency's authorizing statutes. So that is the rationale why I authored, signed, and submitted that letter. I do agree with Director Wagner's comments that it is of such grave importance, that issue, that immediate action was required on my part, and that's what I did. So I wanted to make that clear for the record. That concludes my report.
Do we have any comments from my colleagues? Chairwoman Christina
I
Shea?
think we've all had plenty of comments, so I move to adjourn the meeting.
Director Beal?
I'd just like to commend Mr. Kramer for sending that letter and protecting the interests of this agency.
Director Mueller?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to reiterate what I was talking about earlier, since it wasn't agendized, that Assemblyman Breaux and Senator Bates are interested in creating a committee to discuss how to get these agencies, OCTA, TCA, and Caltrans, working more closely. I know they're on break next week. They'll both be in town, so I'm going to leave it to the chairs to figure out how to create that committee if we even can. And start working. And again, I'm going to reach out to Chair Shaw of OCTA today to have that same conversation.
Thank you, Director Mueller. Director Ferguson?
Thank you very much, Chair Minigar. My question is just, when will the board consider San Clemente's proposed settlement agreement that was submitted in March? And I don't participate in the closed sessions. I recuse myself, but I just wanted to have the board consider responding to San Clemente on that. Thank you.
Well taken. May I ask our legal counsel, Mr. George Joseph, to comment on that?
The proposal is under consideration, and we will be responding shortly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments by my colleagues? Then the meeting is adjourned.